back in the day, and by way back in the day, I mean like a month or two ago, then I said that I wanted to do like a Spider-Man movie like tier list. I will do that at the end of this video. Watched all of them over the last few months. Right now we're talking about Spider-Man 1, first Tobey Maguire one. I watched this one like 2 or 3 years back on Netflix, like right before they removed it from Netflix. And when I watched it, then I was just like yeah, that was a good movie, but like that was it. Like I thought it was good. Like I was kind of just disappointed. Like that's all there was to it. Like people have like a cult following to this, but like that's all there is to it. I came back and rewatched it like a month ago, and was like, okay. It's still a bit underwhelming, but like it's way better than I thought it was back when I watched it a couple years back. This is just my opinion. I think that Tobey Maguire is like the weakest live action Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man wise, he's pretty good, but like Peter Parker wise, he's kind of like, I don't know. There's just something off. I don't know how to word it. Green Goblin's a really cool like bad guy. Beyond like the board members, he doesn't really have any reason to be bad. But the reason for his being bad is that he doesn't have some like upper motive of like, I don't know, like world peace or any of that shit. He just evil for the sake of being evil, which is like cool. Like on the one hand, him not having a motive for being evil, you could say makes it like I don't know, bad writing or like lazy writing or something. But I don't know, not every villain needs to be this like morally complex individual. Like not like, I don't know, bad guys being bad for the sake of being bad. I mean, there's a place for it. Spider-Man 2. Now, I know I did just say that Tobey Maguire is my least favorite live action Spider-Man. But at the same time, Spider-Man 2 is probably my favorite live action Spider-Man movie. It is so good. It is so good. I feel like out of all of the live action Spider-Man movies, the Tobey Maguire one is like the most like realistic, like grounded interpretation of it. Like on the one hand, it's like superhero movies, so like there's a certain level of like disbelief. I don't know what the term I'm looking for is, but like disbelief you have to have going into the movie. I feel like Spider-Man 2 is the one that out of all three of the Tobey Maguire ones, I feel like Spider-Man 2 is the one that accomplishes this the best. Where it's like, yes, it's a superhero movie, but at the same time, there's realistic cause and effect and like realistic character reactions and stuff. Although on the one, like, okay, one of the main things is that MJ is mad at Peter for not going to her play, which is fair, you know. If I had a thing that I was like really passionate about and, you know, it was open to the public and my best friend didn't go to it, I would be very sad and probably mad at them. But like on the one, okay, like she's mad at Peter for not going to her play, but at the same time, Peter lost his mom, Peter lost his dad, Peter lost his uncle, Peter can't hold a job, Peter's broke, Peter's best friend, Harry lost his dad, which, you know, that obviously is going to weigh on Peter at least a good amount. So, like, on the one hand, it is absolutely fair for her to be mad about Peter not going to her play, but at the same time, like, have some, like, awareness, dude. Like, this guy just lost his uncle, like, probably not, I don't know how long after Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 takes place, but, like, it can't be more than, like, 6 months. It doesn't feel like it's any more than 6 months. Like, Peter just lost his uncle. Like, come on. In the middle of the movie, then, like, this, like, astronaut guy, like, proposes to her. Makes Peter's life a bit worse because, you know, now he definitely can't date this person. Peter goes to this, like, Dr. Something Octavius is there with Harry because Harry is now the head of the company and he's, like, funding Dr. Something Octavius. This is, like, sun-powered beam thing. He's also showing off these, like, tentacle arm things so that he can, like, control everything and not, like, get his limbs chopped off. Crystal chip thing in the back of it that, like, keeps the tentacles from, like, you know, controlling his brain and shit. Then, like, the sun machine, like, breaks, like, it gets unstable and stuff and, like, starts pulling a bunch of shit into it. Crystal, like, cracks or something and breaks, and so the tentacles start taking control over Octavius. The last movie, then Harry Osborn saw Spider-Man bringing so I know Harry Osborn is like Green Goblin's son, but I don't remember Green Goblin's name, like the actual guy's name. I'm not a very good film critic. This is like the most surface level film criticism. Like, if you want very surface level film criticism, come to my channel. Like, if you want like actual good film criticism, go to like Sheev Talks or something. Harry Osborn saw Spider-Man putting his dad in like a couch or something. So Harry Osborn rightfully thought that, you know, Spider-Man killed his dad, who he did not know was the Green Goblin. Because, you know, the Green Goblin, like, impaled himself with his glider when he was trying to kill Peter. And when he was, like, you know, launching the glider at him, then he, for some reason, decided to stand up. If Green Goblin would have decided not to stand up, he would have been fine. He would have been perfectly fine. But he decided to stand up for some reason. I don't know what the thought process was there, but he did. And so because of that, he got impaled by his glider, which he was using to try and impale Peter, which didn't work because he jumped out of the way. Green Goblin Osborn died. And as you know, Harry Osborn is friends with Peter, so he confides with Peter and is like, yo, I want to kill Spider-Man. Because of this, Harry Osborn and Doc Ock, they're working together at first because of like the sun machine. But then, you know, Harry's mad at Spider-Man because he thinks that he killed his dad. He shows up to try and like stop the collider, the sun machine. We'll get to Collider pretty soon. You know, Harry Osborn and Doc Ock are both now on the same page and like want Spider-Man like out of the game. Harry Osborn and Doc Ock reach like a deal, which is like, if Harry Osborn gives Doc Ock this, like, I don't know, a vibranium or some shit, then Doc Ock will give Harry Osborn Spider-Man, like, unconscious. Deal happens, cool shit. And then Harry Osborn has like a zesty ass knife, and it's like he's like about to like stab Spider-Man, who he doesn't know is Peter, and then he pulls off the mask and it's like, oh shit. Peter tries explaining, but you know, he can't. Peter basically like lost his powers. It's never actually explained in the movie exactly what happens, but people use their brains and realize he's probably just like stressed or something. Doesn't have his powers for a while. He like doesn't have to be Spider-Man, and because of the fact that he doesn't have to be Spider-Man, he like his like Peter Parker part of his life is like going really good and stuff. His life is easier, but also crime rates in the city go up by like a lot, and Doc Ock goes and like kidnaps MJ and like smashes an entire wall down onto Peter. I guess he thinks that Peter's dead. And like when Peter gets up from the wall, because you know he's Spider-Man, like super durability and shit, like he's like all pissed off and shit, and like that's when he gets his powers back. And when he lost his powers, then like he dropped his, like he took off his like Spider-Man suit. Some guy found his suit and like sold it to the Daily Bugle and had it like hung up in his like office trophy or whatever. I don't know, like he, I guess he thought that like all his like Newsmax articles were like making Spider-Man think that like, oh, maybe I'm not a hero or something like that. And because, you know, Spider-Man's not in the city for a while, which, you know, makes the crime rates go up. And so after a while, then like Jameson's like, you know, maybe Spider-Man is a hero. Maybe I looked at him wrong. And then like right after that, then like Peter like goes in and like steals the Spider-Man suit without Jameson knowing. And like they know that it was Spider-Man because like duh. And then he's like, I always knew Spider-Man was a menace or something like that. That was my best Jameson impression. I do birthdays. Goes, it's like Spider-Man goes and like meets Doc Ock. Spider-Man gets his ass obliterated by Doc Ock. And then Doc Ock takes off Peter's mask, and then Peter's telling him like, yo, this thing's gonna like destroy the city. It's gonna kill everyone. And then Doc Ock is like, yeah, you're right. And then like he tells the tentacles to be like, we gotta destroy this thing. So, you know, he destroys the thing, dies in the process. R.I.P. Doc Ock. You weren't the GOAT, but like you weren't very far from being the GOAT. All of like the Spider-Man movie villains, I feel like Doc Ock is the one that was executed the best. So in that sense, he is the GOAT, but in the sense of morality, I would not say so. I would not say so. Maybe. I mean, if we're comparing him to Green Goblin, he's a fucking saint. But like, you know, out of all of them, I don't know. You know, MJ now knows that Peter is Spider-Man because, you know, Doc Ock took off the mask like right in front of her. Now she knows that like Peter's Spider-Man, and she understands like, oh, that's why. Now she's like not mad at him. And then she starts, you know, dating him, even though she was about to get married to this like NASA dude. So she just like skips the wedding and is like in Peter's apartment wedding dress. And like, you go get him, Tiger, or some shit. Which is apparently like an insanely like famous quote from like one of like the older comics. That's the end of the movie. Now we're on Spider-Man 3. Dang, wow. Yeah, at the end of Spider-Man 2, then there's like a post-credit scene, not post-credit scene, where like Harry Osborn finds the Goblin Goon Cave. Cliffhanger at the end of Spider-Man 2. And then at the beginning of Spider-Man 3, then it shows him in the Weed Goblin Cave. You know, he takes the Goblin Serum and, you know, becomes Green Goblin, but like not insane. He takes the Weed Goblin Serum and then goes and attacks Spider-Man because, you know, he's pissed off and mad and shit. And because, you know, he's just like mad and like not going in with like a strategy or anything, he like hits like a clothesline and gets catapulted into like a dumpster. And, you know, because of like the goblin stuff, he doesn't die. So, you know, Peter brings him to the hospital, and Harry like conveniently suffers like a concussion that like doesn't fuck up his body or his brain. It just makes him forget like a year or something of time. And so, you know, him and Peter are on good terms now. And then it goes on like this for a little bit, but then there's like a scene where like he either remembers or like figures out. I don't know. It's Spider-Man 3. I genuinely tried to block this out of my memory because it's a really dog shit movie. He's out this thing. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, so like he's mad again. There's this guy, Frank Marco, who like got out of prison, like he escaped from prison or something. And on his like escape from prison, then like he falls into like this like sand thing. You know, the machine goes and like sand particles go into him, and he becomes sandified. It's a really good scene. It's it's like probably the best scene in the movie, but it's from a dog shit movie, so you know, it's unfortunate. There's this guy at the Daily Bugle who's like trying to take Peter Parker's job, and Peter are kind of like mad at each other, and then randomly, then a piece of black doo-doo falls out of the sky, and turns out to be like, you know, like the Venom symbiote. And at first, then Peter doesn't know that the Venom symbiote fell near him because I don't know. Apparently, his spider senses decided just to not go off or something. There's this thing where it's like when the Venom symbiote is like attached to him, then like it doesn't trigger his spidey senses because like, you know, it like, I don't know, like subdues his spider senses or something. But like he didn't know that the Venom symbiote would like be in any way helpful to him. Like he didn't think that yet. It was just like a black splotch of goop that just landed on his bike. So I don't really know why his spider senses didn't go off for that, but you know, they conveniently didn't. He has this Venom symbiote, and like he lets it attach to him, becomes like a black Spider-Man suit. But let me just say, the Venom, like the symbiote suit itself is peak. But the symbiote suit from the Raimi films, it's probably like the worst Spider-Man live action suit that they ever brought. It is so fucking bad. I don't even think that's a hot take. I think everyone just universally hates that thing. Bully Maguire, and like he's kind of being a piece of shit for a while, and then he gets into an argument with MJ and like slaps her or something, and that's when you realize like, oh, this shit's not good. I should get rid of this. I should get rid of this thing. Goes on top of like Church like trying to take it off of him, but like he stumbles into like the bell. This is an important bit of information for later in the movie. Loud noises are bad for Venom. The Venom suit starts like crumbling off of him, and conveniently there's a hole underneath the bell. Take a wild guess at the one specific person that is at this church in this city full of probably hundreds of thousands of people. It's Eddie Brock. There's this one point where like Eddie Brock, the guy who's like, you know, competing with Peter at the Daily Bugle, like takes like a picture as like the front page where it's like Spider-Man like stealing from a bank, a doctored image, not a real picture. So he gets fired from the Daily Bugle. Peter exposed, like, yo, that like, this guy lied. It's not an actual photo. You know, he just took one of my pictures and edited it. So he has a vengeance against Peter. He's at this Catholic church praying like, yo, Big J, big man upstairs. I'm not Catholic. I don't actually know if they believe in Jesus. Yo, big man upstairs. Baby Jesus, big Jesus. I don't know. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Conveniently, then the Venom symbiote just falling down. It attaches to him. Also, I forgot to mention this, but during the Bully Maguire stage, then like started dating Gwen, who was Eddie Brock's girlfriend. It's even more of a reason for Eddie to hate him. The series of events that took place for Eddie to get the Venom suit is kind of outlandish. Backpedal a little bit to try and explain randomly, while Peter and MJ are in the park, then the Venom symbiote falls down out of the sky right next to his bike, and you know, him and MJ somehow, neither of them hear this. As they're leaving, the symbiote crawls onto the bike. It decides to go into like Peter's backpack that attached to MJ. That would have been pretty bad. You know, it thankfully goes to Peter's backpack and then attaches to him. So the Venom suit, it like makes him like be kind of shittier. Very beginning of when he got the symbiote, then like he brought part to Dr. Connors, who's like, don't let this attach to your skin. Dr. Connors has the symbiote and is not addressed a single time throughout the rest of the movie. It's like this whole bodysuit of the Venom shit. He hits MJ and then decides to like, you know, swing across half the city, go to some random Catholic church, and then take off the suit there. And conveniently, Eddie Brock, out of the hundreds of thousands of people in the entire city of New York, happened to be there, like the one single person there. Like, he hears all the like yelling and shit from Peter trying to take off the suit. Venom symbiote goes and falls onto him. Now it's like kind of like an evolved version of the symbiote, and it's like like a thing instead of just a suit. Now, then it's like very, very attached to him. During the Bully Maguire time, then it comes to light that Frank Marco, the guy who became Sandman, is the guy who actually killed Peter Parker's uncle. He's mad and shit. So like he in the Spider-Man black suit goes and attacks Frank Marco and puts him down like a sewer drain, presumably killing him. Spider-Man has no kill rule, but the black Spider-Man doesn't. Symbiote Spider-Man doesn't. I caught that, okay? I caught that. Venom and Sandman meet. Sandman thinks it's a fight. It's not. Venom wants to team up with Frank Marco, kill Spider-Man, because Brock decides to kidnap MJ. They go to this like construction site. Venom got this like big old black goop, like spider web thing, and inside of it, one of the things is like a taxi with MJ in it, and also like to lure Spider-Man into the trap. Spider-Man knows it's a trap, so he goes to Harry Osborn and is like, hey, I know you're mad at me. I know you're pissed, but please, I need your help. Peter goes there alone, knowing he's probably gonna get killed. He's like, probably like 2 punches away from getting killed. And then out of nowhere, Green Goblin 2, the good guy that now goes in, swoops in, throws bombs at them and shit, gets Spider-Man out of there. Flying up. I think this is when they like find MJ. Pretty cool fight takes place. A bunch of like big long metal pipes fall down, and like Venom, who's trying to kill Spider-Man at this point, like starts like spazzing out. There's like an unnecessary flashback of Peter at the bell. He didn't need that. Peter gets all these metal pipes, like slams them into the ground like a circle around Venom, who's still spazzing out. And then he gets like a big metal pipe and like starts like running circles around it, hitting all the metal pipes, which is like, getting all like the Venom symbiote off of Eddie. And so, he gets a web, like pulls Eddie out of the ring and like a goblin bomb and like throws it in like at Venom, and then like jumps in with the bomb and gets killed. Harry Osborn also got killed. Got like stabbed by his glider. Let's rewind a little bit. He didn't want to help Spider-Man because thought that Spider-Man killed his dad. His dad got killed by his glider. And so his butler goes up to him and is like, stabbed by his glider. He was not killed by Spider-Man. That somehow convinces, okay, I'm gonna help Spider-Man now. But then he gets killed by Venom shoving the glider knife into him. I hope you can see the issue there. Like, Peter didn't kill Green Goblin, but the reasoning that they came to make Harry think that he didn't, really stupid. Harry dies. Peter and MJ get back together for like the 17th time. Frank Marco, Sandman, just flies off into the wind. And that's the end of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. They were gonna make Spider-Man 4 with like Vulture in it or something. The director dropped out because he wasn't given enough time to make it like an actually good movie. Spider-Man 4 got canceled, and then we got Andrew Garfield. The Amazing Spider-Man 1. I like that they gave Peter a skateboard. And there was like this big controversy back in the day, what I've heard. It's like, why would you give Peter a skateboard? That's stupid or something. Which, like, not every version of the character has to be exactly the same. I feel like it fits with the character. He finds a box in his basement that's, like, a bunch of, like, his dad's, like, old research. Finds the name of, like, Oscorp Industries or something. He goes to Oscorp Industries lobby and finds this, like, name tag. Big old, like, class doing, like, a tour. For some reason, they gave them, like, name tags and shit, but didn't do any form of, like a picture on the thing. So Peter's just able to go in there and take some random guy's, like, name tag in the lobby. This guy getting, like, dragged out of there. They didn't do any form of checking there. That was a little stupid. Right, this random dude just catching strays. There, giving them the tour is Gwen, who Peter is vaguely friends with. She knows that he took the name tag. Doesn't do anything about it. Doesn't, like, report him. Doesn't, kick him out. Does nothing. But he wanders off. Somehow just randomly finds a room. A bunch of spiders. One of them bites him, drops a basketball, and like it rolls onto this bucket of paint and like spills onto this thing that this woman's painting. I don't really know why she was in the gym painting. That's kind of dumb. Here's in there, and then he like grabs the basketball, fucking around with Eddie, just kind of like making a fool of him. Does like a full like full court like layup and like jumps like 10 feet in the air and like slams the basketball into the hoop and like shatters the entire backboard. Peter and Uncle Ben get into an argument, and then like Peter storms out of the house, slams the door, and it's a glass door, and because of how hard he slammed it, it like shattered all the glass behind him in the door. Goes to like a gas station or something, and then the guy right behind Peter goes up there and like knocks something off the counter. The guy like takes a bunch of money out of the cash register. He yells at Peter like, "Yo kid, go catch that guy." And then Peter says, "You know, it's not my policy." Uncle Ben is just in the vicinity, and then the guy like trips, drops his gun 10 feet in front of him, and Uncle Ben reaches for the weapon. The guy gets to the gun first, shoots him in the chest. I don't even think he says the line, "With great power comes with great responsibility." After I watched the movie, then I went on YouTube and was like searching up the scene just to make sure I didn't like miss it, because like I thought I missed it. But like, yeah, he just doesn't say with great power comes great responsibility. Peter's mad at this guy so you know, he makes like the prototype version of the Spider-Man suit, where starts like chasing down a bunch of random people who like vaguely match the description of the person who shot Uncle Ben. Because of this, then like the chief police guy, "Hey, this guy is not good. He's just targeting like a specific group of people." Police are now against Peter. One of like the head scientists at Oscorp is like doing some research on like animal genetics. Like lizards are like able to regrow their organs. Tries putting lizard DNA into a mouse, and like at first then it works, because like, you know, the rat was missing appendage, you know, it grew it back. Funding for his research is gonna like get removed if he doesn't get results soon. But like he was like super close to getting results. He decided like just, you know, cutting him out of it, like take matters into his own hands and like get the human research done on himself. So like he injects the stuff and, you know, he grows his arm back. Very awesome, very cool. But it has the side effect of fucks up your brain. Peter tries a picture of the lizard. The lizard catches up to him, like finds him. They're at his camera down there with him, and like he got chased by a lizard, dropped his camera, which had his name embroidered on it. Great play, Peter, great play. The lizard now knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. You know, the lizard goes and attacks Peter's high school. But there was a scene way back earlier in the movie where like Peter and Dr. Connors were like discussing something. I don't remember exactly, but it was, you know, it was brought to Peter's attention that like he was doing these experiments, and then like he went to Oscorp Industries with Dr. Connors, and like he's like giving like a tour of the lab and stuff. After Peter fights the lizard at the high school, people saw Spider-Man at the high school, but they somehow didn't see the lizard. There was like a citywide manhunt for Spider-Man. He is like one of the rats that was injected with the lizard stuff like ate the other rat that was with it, and he realizes like, oh, the lizard is Dr. Connors. Dr. Connors is going to go on top of the Oscorp building, spray this like lizard shit all over the place. Makes his way up to the top of the building. He's setting up like the big toxin spray shit. Peter's on his way to the building, and like he gets shot by a cop and like falls down a flight of stairs. You know, he gets surrounded by a bunch of police officers, like, you know, like sitting down on his, and the chief of police goes up to him, like takes off his mask, and right when he takes off the mask, and Peter wakes up and like beats up all these cops. Somehow not the guy that was standing directly in front of him though. That's a little convenient. The chief of police sees like this is Peter. Like, okay, yo, no, you're good. Even though like the last two times that Peter and this chief guy were talking to each other, the chief of police was like, you're a fucking wacko. If I do remember correctly, the reason that he trusts Peter now is because he's like, if my daughter trusted you, I feel like you're trustworthy. He tells the cops to like stop shooting him. A cop shoots him. Also inside of the tower is when he was making like an anti-serum. I don't exactly know how she came up with an entire anti-serum in like 5 hours, but she did. Having trouble getting to Oscorp Tower. There's a scene earlier in the movie where like the lizard first attacks like on this bridge, and like there's like this big like minivan hanging off of the end of the bridge, because like whenever like a car fell, Peter would like get a web and like attach it to the side of the bridge. And so, you know, there was this minivan attached to the side of the bridge, and he didn't know this, but there was a kid inside of the minivan. The engine starts catching fire, so he has to get that kid out of there quickly. So, like he takes off the mask and is like, wear this, it'll give you strength. After Peter takes the kid out of there, then the dad like all happy and shit. Like, you know, you just saved my son. Any sane human being would be happy about that. When it's like on the news that Spider-Man's like struggling to get to Oscorp, then the dad is like, guys, get all your cranes, turn them into like the street and shit, And then, like, you know, that'll give Spider-Man platforms to, like, swing. That's, like, the best scene in any Spider-Man movie ever. I will fight you in the comments over this. It is, like, the best scene in any Spider-Man movie. I will fight you. So, you know, he gets to the tower, manages to get to the top. Gwen gets to the lobby. The chief captain meets her, and, like, she hands him the serum, and he tells her to get out of there. And then he goes to the top and gives Peter the anti-serum, and then Peter drops the lizard into like a little pit thing, but like there's like a bunch of like broken pipes, is like throwing like dry ice at him or something, which is like freezing him. And the chief guy has like a shotgun and like keeps shooting the guy, but you know, because of like the lizard serum, he's like growing his limbs back. You know, he gets out of there, he gets out of the thing, and right before the lizard serum shoots up, then Peter takes the lizard serum out, puts in the anti-lizard serum. Then the anti-lizard serum sprays up in the air, and anti-lizards Dr. Connors. Before this happens, like, you know, like beats the shit out of the captain. Captain is dying, and then Peter's like holding him, and then the captain's like, "Whatever you do, leave Gwen alone." A little bit of foreshadowing that doesn't happen. Captain Stacy's funeral, Peter just doesn't go. Gwen is mad about this, rightfully so. He basically just tries to like blow her off, kind of be like, I shouldn't be with you, it's not safe. But like she figures out like, did my dad put you up to this or something? There's like a post-credit scene, because you know we have to have post-credit scenes. It's a Marvel movie. Dr. Connors is in like a jail cell, doing it with like a fedora, goes up to him and saying some cryptic shit. That's the Amazing Spider-Man 1, which I like. I really like the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Amazing Spider-Man 2. So right off the bat, both of Peter's parents in an airplane. Peter's dad trying to expose Oscorp for a bunch of like immoral shit. Oscorp is aware of this and is trying to make him not do this. They sent like an assassin onto the airplane, though they're also trying to crash the plane. So if when people go and investigate the crash, they see bullet wounds, they're gonna know there was some foul play involved, which is not great. You kind of like all you really had to do was just take out the parachutes and crash the plane. That's all you really needed to do. You kind of had a bit of a slam dunk right there, but you just shot a bunch of bullets. Him swinging, trying to stop this armored truck with a bunch of random stuff from Oscorp, because everything in the Amazing Spider-Man universe has to be attached to Oscorp. Trying to stop this armored truck, and then he gets on top of it and is talking to the guy, just, you know, joking around. He could have stopped it right there. He could have like opened the door, pulled the guy out, you know, anything. But he decided to just goof around. Armored truck, which is now hit a bunch of cars, a bunch of trucks. But what are you doing? Takes his sweet time to stop this armored truck. It's a good scene, it's a good swinging scene, but like if he would have actually like locked in, like he could have probably stopped the truck in like 30 seconds. The driver says 6'7", by the way, just thought I'd throw that out there. Norman Osborn, I remember the name. Norman Osborn is dying. He's like about to die, and then we get a scene where Harry Osborn is like with him, and then like Norman Osborn is given this whole spiel. Peter goes to Harry Osborn's mansion and is like, "Yo, we were friends for a long time. We haven't seen you in 10 years though," which is like a great letting the audience know that, you know, they were friends. Harry Osborn's an interesting character. Like they didn't really do him very well in this movie. He inherits the company because his dad died. You know, he's kind of handling it poorly, like kind of a bit immature. The guy who Spider-Man saved in like the first couple scenes of the movie is like this guy who's like forgotten, nobody really cares about, trying to like close like this like pipe thing, electric wire, whatever. The guy he was talking to wouldn't turn off the electricity. It's like, I get that nobody there cared for him, but at the same time, even if you don't care for someone, you're gonna turn off the wire, like the electricity to that wire, because if something happens to him, then that's gonna go back and blow back on you, because like you were the guy managing that. You know, he falls into this pit of a bunch of electric eels, and you know, they attack the shit out of him in some like bunker, like abandoned like hospital bed. Skin's all blue. It's out of there. Just to backtrack a little bit, he has like an obsession with Spider-Man. When he gets out of the lab, very hungry for electricity, goes to Times Square of all places, gets like this metal grate and just puts his whole palm on both hands, really thick like electrical wire, and just like absorbing it. If you see like a dude hunched over like a big electrical wire, like yelling with his hands on it, that's gonna cause a lot of commotion, especially in Times Square. Couple cops go over there, see that his skin's blue. So, they're, very scared about that. The whole thing is, like, catching the attention of a lot of people. And there's, like, a bunch of reporters there. And, like, they're pointing their cameras at him. And he's, like in awe or something. Because, like, he sees, like, on all these, like, billboards in Times Square. Like nobody, like, saw him before. Nobody cared about him before. But then, like, he's on these billboards. It's, like, awesome for him. Spider-Man swoops in, trying to like de-escalate the situation, because Max, who is Electro, he's electric stuff, Electro, he like, he's scaring a lot of people. So Spider-Man's going in there trying to like de-escalate things, like, hey, let's get you some help, whatever. And Max is like, do you remember me? You saved my life. You said I'm like, you're like, he doesn't remember. Spider-Man doesn't remember because it's like a one-sided relationship's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. Reporters that were like, had him on like the news and stuff were like started pointing the cameras instead of at Electro at Spider-Man, and so Electro's all mad and stuff, and it's like, you set me up, you're so selfish. Spider-Man is actually seeing like, okay, like he actually understands like what's going on. It's like what's going through Electro's brain a little bit. Still trying to like get Electro out of there, like away from all the cameras and people and stuff. And then Electro steps back, puddle of water behind him. So like a large amount of electricity, like big old zap between him and the ground. And this catches the police officer off guard. So like he shoots at Electro, pisses him off, and like he just goes ham, just shooting the shit out of Spider-Man. Electricity everywhere, absorbing insanity. Spider-Man's still trying to de-escalate things, but then after this, like after Electro starts like zapping people and shit, Spider-Man's like out of the picture for a couple minutes, and then he comes back with a couple of firefighters and like blasts a bunch of water at Electro. Electro's put in like a Oscorp like prison. Harry Osborn goes to office or something at Oscorp and sees this like footage of Electro falling into the eels. And then, like, Butler goes up to him and is like, this happened under your watch. I'm taking control of the company. He gets kicked out. He's getting kicked out, getting escorted by a couple of guards. And then he's like, I'll see myself out. What the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck? What are we doing? What are you doing? A little while later, then, like, he goes to Oscorp prison thing, and he's let inside for some reason. But like the gate right before, a couple of guards are told like, hey, we're not supposed to let this guy in here. And then before they are able to do anything, he reaches for the officer's weapon and shoots both of them. He goes in, frees Electro, and then he's like, hey, we both want the same thing. They go in there, do a bunch of shit. Harry's like trying to cure this like blood disorder thing that he has, and for some reason he thinks that this Green Goblin serum that's in the Oscorp basement will do the trick. It does not do the trick. It does what every other goblin does and made him go insane. Electro is now really mad at Spider-Man because he's thinks Spider-Man's selfish. Goes and attacks like the city's main power grid. Spider-Man tries to stop him with like his new like electricity proof suit, because at like the Times Square, Spider-Man's web shooter got zapped and he was only able to use the one. Kind of needs some electric protection. Nice enchantment to have. Fighting at the power grid. Gwen's there. Two-part plan where like Spider-Man like lures him to like the middle of the power grid and then tries again to like make himself explode, which like I thought Spider-Man had a no-kill rule, but apparently not. He kills Electro indirectly, but still kills Electro. A couple minutes later, like conveniently timed, then Green Goblin decides to swoop in, sees like Gwen's standing 10 feet away from Spider-Man, and is like, oh, you're Peter? Picks up Gwen, takes his sweet time doing it too. During all this, then Peter just doesn't go and like, I don't know, jump around, jump to the side and like like pull Gwen towards him or like pull Harry off the glider. Doesn't do anything. He just takes the sweet time, standing there, just watching everything happen. Harry grabs Gwen and then takes her to like the clock tower. Peter and Goblin are fighting in the clock tower. Gwen falls down. Peter doesn't catch her in time and she dies. Like the last scene of the movie, he's fighting Rhino and like it cuts off right before like the sewer grate hits Rhino. And then there's like a scene a little bit before then where it's like this dude in a fedora just walking around in the basement, and it's like you can see like the Hawk like claw things, you can see the vulture wings, you can see, you know, Venom symbiote, a couple other things. I did a bit of research on this. We're not going to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3 after this. They were going to make like a Sinister Six prequel movie that would lead into The Amazing Spider-Man. People hated The Amazing Spider-Man 2 so much that they decided to drop their second Spider-Man and go straight to the MCU. I don't know if this is true, but apparently because of how bad The Amazing Spider-Man was, they just gave like the animation team access to a Spider-Man movie and just told them like, hey, go wild. And then that's what became Into the Spider-Verse. So Spider-Man Homecoming, MCU, and Spider-Man wasn't introduced in a Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man was introduced in a Captain America movie. A little interesting, little unique, not bad per se, it's just, you know, a unique choice. The fact that they had the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield movies that had just, you know, within the last 10 years been made to make a new Spider-Man for the second time in like a decade. MCU Spider-Man was their third attempt at a Spider-Man live action. They'd done the origin story twice in like about 10 years. They didn't really want to like redo that like for a third time, so they just didn't. I think it's a good choice. Not every single Spider-Man has to be written in the exact same way. I don't take issue with the fact that they didn't show him getting bit by the spider or like Uncle Ben or any of that. Would have been cool if there was like a couple of flashbacks or something, but like even the fact that there aren't any, I don't have any actual issue with. So the beginning of Spider-Man Homecoming, it's like him in high school, like finishing up his like class for that day, then going swinging around being Spider-Man and stuff. And like I feel like they did a pretty good job with like showing like the struggle of balancing it, good amount with like personal life faltering because of it. The bad guy in this movie is Vulture. His motivation is basically in 2012, and there was like all that shit happening in New York, a really big attack in New York City. Then there's like all this like cleanup that needs to be done, and there's this guy who's like contracted to like clean it up and stuff. They're kicked out of the project. He's kind of mad at Tony now. In his mind, he's seeing it like, you know, they're the ones that made this mess and now they're profiting from it, which like, it's actually a really, really insanely interesting avenue to explore. But then they make him like be an arms dealer who sells like alien weapons to criminals. Is bad, but his initial motivation for doing so is okay. So, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent. A lot of bad guys in like superhero movies in general are like, they're right, but like the way they go about fulfilling their motives is like just killing people or something. He is wrong for selling alien weapons of mass destruction. The Vulture is the father of one of Peter's classmates who he has a crush on. The movie is called Spider-Man Homecoming. That's because at like near the end of the movie, then it's, you know, high school homecoming. Peter is trying to, you know, do all this like Spider-Man stuff so that he can, you know, get on Iron Man's good side so that he can like help fight like bigger stuff and like be part of the Avengers and stuff. At one point, then on his way back into his like dorm, Ned, his best friend, is like in there because earlier that day, then like they said they'd meet up. You know, now the Ned knows about Spider-Man, about Peter Parker being Spider-Man. So he's like all excited. The next day at school, we hear some people talking, and the girl that Peter has a crush on says that she thinks Spider-Man's hot. Someone says something negative about Spider-Man, and then Ned just goes and yells, "You don't know Spider-Man!" He inadvertently gets Peter to say that he's gonna invite Spider-Man to this party that they were just invited to. Peter is like at the party, and like Peter dips out of there, and he's like on the roof. He's like hyping himself, being all like, okay, I'm gonna swing in there, fist bump with Ned or something, and like say like I know Peter or something like that, and then swing out. But then like while he's hyping himself up, then like he sees an explosion a couple miles away. You know, the explosion is a bit more important than horror farming. Swings over to the explosion, and it turns out to be an arms dealer trying to sell Aaron Davis some like alien weapons. Spider-Man's trying to be all sneaky and figure out what's going on, but then Ned calls and hears ringtone really loud, and the guys then think that Aaron set them up. You know, they point guns at him, and then Spider-Man jumps down and is like, hey, if you're gonna shoot someone, shoot me. All the arms dealer guys and Aaron start running, driving away, starts chasing them, and like he webs himself to like the back of their van. You're getting consistently shot at by the guy in the back of the van, so he can't really, get further up the web. So he's just kind of being dragged on the ground. Vulture swoops down, picks up Peter right before he like lands on the van, and like takes him like really high up, and then drops him into like a big old body of water. The Spider-Man suit has like a parachute deployed while he was like upside down, so like he gets caught in the parachute, tangled in a big ass parachute inside of the water. Looks like he's about to drown. Iron Man swoops down. Peter meets up with Ned, and they hack his suit, find some facial recognition software in it, and it turns out that like everything that he does is filmed, like a training wheels protocol or something. Iron Man gave Peter this really expensive suit, and one of the features is to film everything. Tony Stark is non-consensually filming a child. That's pretty bad. This never gets addressed again, by the way. They use this facial recognition software in tandem with the filming and find Aaron Davis. Peter tracks him down, interrogates him, figures out where like a pickup or like a base of operations is at. He goes there and sees like a bunch of like armored trucks going. He like goes and gets on the armored trucks, and Vulture is like attacking. Peter's there, tries to stop Vulture, but gets dropped into the van, which had like a alien tech like portal thing. When he hopped down, then Vulture took the portal thing, and then when Peter tried to jump out, then like he like hit his head on a like metal thing, so he passed out. He's now in like facility, some really locked down facility. He's alone in there. It's a big like warehouse with a bunch of like those long metal crate things. It's like super secured. He hacks into like the lock system. I don't really know how secure it is, if he hacked into it in 5 seconds, but he did. He gets the door opened, and then gets out of there. Van chase. Then a piece of alien technology fell out into someone's yard. When he was on his way back to the party, then he saw it and picked it up. They go to DC. The purple orb goes into Ned's possession. Him and the rest of the class are on a trip to the Washington Monument. Peter, obviously being Spider-Man, isn't there. He's on his way to the Washington Monument. Ned is in there with the purple orb. He goes through like TSA, and like the X-ray scanners like make it like unstable. Him and everyone that's there goes up like the elevator. Purple orb like makes a big old like laser beam and then like an explosion. Purple orb that exploded and blew up, made all the lasers, was in Ned's backpack when it exploded. Backpack was on Ned. I don't really know how the explosion didn't kill Ned. The whole thing, like the whole elevator is like breaking and like sliding down. And like meanwhile, Peter's outside trying to break like this like bulletproof glass. And then like the police show up in like helicopters. Then like he jumps over the helicopter, swings into like this like 4-inch thick ballistic glass, and like smashes through just in time to catch the elevator. They're safe. They go back to New York. Peter realizes that there's going to be another deal. There's like a deal going on the boat, and he tries stopping it. Things go south. laser gun gets like dropped, starts firing everywhere, and like it sawed the boat in half. He's trying to like swing, like tie all the sides together, but like he's like not completely successful, and then all of it, like all of the webs snap, and like the boat's like, you know, falling apart, and then Iron Man goes in there and then like pushes all this like boat together. Iron Man takes the suit from Spider-Man. Peter goes about his life normally without Spider-Man stuff for a while. He figures out that Vulture is going to raid the airplane that was like taking all the stuff out of Avengers Tower because they were moving everything to a different facility. You know, Peter realizes that like he's just gonna like raid the airplane. You know, Peter doesn't have the Spider-Man suit anymore. He goes in like his like early suit to go fight Vulture. You know, Vulture gets really mad and like starts fighting Peter, and in all the commotion, then one of like the fan things in the wing of the airplane that just gets completely like everything gets removed from it. The airplane starts to crash while Vulture's trying to get away. Then Peter's trying to steer the plane to keep her from hitting a bunch of buildings and pedestrians and stuff. Ash lands on the beach, they're fighting, but you know, Vulture's suit is damaged and he's trying to pick up like a crate or box or something. His wingsuit's damaged, so he can't really lift off, but like he's really mad, so he doesn't really realize what's happening. His suit explodes. Spider-Man saves him, gets him out of like the wreckage, ties him up to a box, and it's like, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stopped your plane from getting stolen or something like that. Tony decides to like actually make Peter like a member of the Avengers or something, you know, thinking it's a test, but it wasn't. The movie ends with him in his apartment with the Spider-Man suit on. May walks in the background and sees him in the Spider-Man suit and is like, what the f*** from home. In the movie, then it's like Spider-Man and Aunt May at like some charity event. Spider-Man gets asked a couple of questions about like he's gonna be like, you know, the new leader of the Avengers or whatever, since, you know, Tony Stark died in Endgame, and Far From Home takes place after questions. He just like runs out of there. So that was the second scene. The first scene was like this town in Mexico, like Nick Fury, they see big like rock monster, and also this guy who's like shooting green stuff. Like once we see the guy, then like he take like his mask thing taken off, and then like he says like, you don't want to be part of this, or his mask goes back on and shoots lasers. Peter and Ned at school field trip to Europe, and Peter's talking about how like on the plane he's gonna like sit next to MJ and like watch movies. In the charity event, Happy tells Peter that Peter's gonna get a call from Nick Fury pretty soon. Peter gets a call from Nick Fury, then like he sends him to voicemail, and they go to, I'm bad with names of people and cities, I'm sorry, a little bit, and then shortly after, then like a water elemental like starts attacking. Peter doesn't have the Spider-Man suit with him, so he can't really go, you know, swinging around with that. Then like Mysterio shows up and starts fighting the water thing, wrecking a bunch of buildings. And a little bit later, we get to a scene where like Peter's in the hotel, him and Ned are talking. Nick Fury like shoots like a tranquilizer dart at Ned. He's all mad at Peter, like, you don't send me to voicemail. Then they go on the boat to like secret headquarters, and Peter meets up with Mysterio. Peter's all like, yo, I'm on a field trip or something. If I like flake from the group and like they see Spider-Man, they're gonna figure it out. He acts like pretends that he understands and is like not gonna make Peter join them. A little bit later, then Peter's like class's field trip gets redirected to pretty close to where they were wanting Peter to go. Way easier for Peter to join and like help. Peter didn't want to help them with like this whole elemental thing, which he was informed was like could destroy the world or something. I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent, but I find it really stupid when movies have like the premise of if the bad guys win, they're gonna destroy the world, because, you know, bad guys barely win regardless in movies. If they have the motive of we're gonna destroy the world, then you like 100% know like they're gonna lose. Especially so in like superhero movies, because, you know, with the exception of like Infinity War, there's like superhero movies are 100% completely allergic to letting the bad guys win ever. It makes sense, but you know, if they had the bad guys win like once in a while, then there's like actual, like, you're actually kind of like scared, like, is the good guy gonna die or the bad guy's gonna win? But like if you have the motive of they're gonna destroy the world, that then you know, like, they're not. Peter doesn't want to help them because he wants to relax on this field trip. This literally goes against the entire thing of the first movie. It's like he wanted to help, but then like in the end he was like, you know, I wanted to just, you know, stick to street level stuff. But then he's actually being brought into like a bigger thing, 100% needed, and then he's like, no, I'm not gonna help. I don't care how like self-centered you are. If you're informed that the world's gonna get destroyed if you specifically don't help, you're gonna help. Like, I heard someone say before that like even like Homelander would help in this situation. I don't really like how he's like so like adamantly against like helping them. A little bit before he meets up with Mysterio at like this like bunker, and Nick Fury gives Peter these like Edith glasses that like apparently Tony Stark like decided to give to Peter, which there's another thing. Like, I know that Tony was like trusted Peter, but like even at the end of Endgame, he still knew that Peter was like not like really mature enough. Why would you give Peter these like $1 billion war glasses? I like, I understand wanting to give them to Peter, but like have Nick Fury have them and be like, in like a few years or like whatever, or like when he like does something like super like, you know, super like mature, then give Peter these glasses. But like he just gives them to Peter like 3 or 4 months after Endgame. I don't actually know how long after Endgame this takes place, but given Peter's mental state from like the beginning of the movie, I'm just assuming he gets these glasses, which are like access to like this like big old satellite with like a bunch of drones in it, and these drones have like guns and stuff. Like, I get that Tony Stark was like, you know, a billionaire, had like a bunch of contingencies in case like stuff happened. But like, why would he make like a big old satellite with like a couple thousand drones with like shotguns on them? That just doesn't seem like a thing that he would do. I don't know if I'm like mischaracterizing Tony Stark or whatever, but that just doesn't seem like something that he was shown in the movies of being really like on board with. Although, to be fair, he did have like 50 Iron Man suits and a bunch of Hulkbusters. The whole character arc of Tony Stark was that he stopped like selling like really powerful weapons. But then I feel like having this big old like satellite in space with like thousands of drones specifically designed to kill people, I feel like that kind of goes against his character. I don't know. Peter's class lands at their hotel. Peter's brought to like a room with like this woman who has like a new suit for him that's not Spider-Man suit. You know, she tells him to like, you know, take his clothes off to put on the suit. But like, I think like Brad walks in and sees this going on, and you know, you see a random woman that you've never met in a room with a dude who's taking off his pants. There's a thought process there. So, you know, he takes out his phone, takes a picture, you know, tells Peter that like he's gonna show this to MJ. A little bit later, then like, Peter's on the bus, and like he's trying to figure out what to do because, you know, he doesn't want MJ to see the picture. He's trying to get rid of the photo, but like poorly words it, and like sends a couple drones down to kill Brad. But then, you know, he tells Edith to just like go on Brad's phone and delete the picture. A little bit later, then they're at like a opera house or side, you know, to be there. And then Peter sneaks out to go help Mysterio with like this lava elemental, which Mysterio informs him is like the most powerful one of them. Yeah, Mysterio and Night Monkey like fight the fire thing, and during the fight, after the fight, then they all meet back up at the hotel. They're gonna like go back home the next day. So Peter wanted to walk with MJ like by the pier, and then on like while they're walking, then MJ tells Peter she knows he's Spider-Man, denies it at first, and then she like takes out some like projector thing. The thing that fell during the lava fight was like a projector, and it turns out that the lava monster, rock monster, and water monster were not actually monsters. They were like drones pretending to be monsters and stuff. And Mysterio doesn't actually have powers. It's just a guy in a mocap suit pretending. But between the lava fight and the hotel scene, then Peter and Quentin Beck, who is Mysterio, are talking in a bar. Peter just decides to give Quentin the Edith glasses. Why? Then Quentin Beck has the Edith glasses, and then him and a bunch of people go on like whole spiel of like Tony Stark wronged us. Now we're gonna like take over the world. He meets up with Nick Fury and explains what's going on, but it turns out it was a hologram. It's not real. In Spider-Man's brain and stuff. Which, side tangent, I don't really know why Peter would be falling for this, because like he has like the spider sense. Like I understand at first why he wouldn't be falling for it, because like he's thinks it's like these actual like monsters and stuff, but like now he knows it's like drones and stuff or whatever. So I feel like then he would have like the understanding, it's not what it is. Spider senses will be going like crazy and stuff, just telling him like, oh, there's a drone there, whatever and shit. But like it just doesn't happen. This is another side tangent. This is kind of like my perspective with people who like play VR games, which like especially older people, because like you see these videos where like people are like playing VR games and they're like screaming and stuff, and like actually like acting like they're in the real, like they're actually in the game. But like you are wearing like a heavy headset on your head, and you're like holding controllers in your hands. Like I don't really know how you're falling for this. That's a side tangent. I'm just gonna go back to the movie. So Peter, getting mentally crucified right now. At the end of it, then the illusions is that Nick Fury like shot Quentin, and is probably tracking your friends down. Where are they? Like who are they? And Peter tells Nick Fury that like the people who know, and then Nick Fury is like, you son of a bitch, you dumb motherfucker. And then Peter gets hit by a train and then ends up in like some prison in the Netherlands. And then he goes up to like some local farmer guy and it's just like, yo, Happy, I'm in the Netherlands. Happy picks up Peter. There's like a scene in the airplane where they're like discussing Tony Stark and like growth and a couple other things. The airplane sequence is probably like my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's actually like really good. And then Peter makes like a new suit. I don't really know why he made a suit that looked like Spider-Man, because like he figured this out earlier in the movie that like if like he's wearing the Spider-Man suit in Europe, people are gonna figure it out that like his classmates are gonna figure out that he's Spider-Man. But like he doesn't do this. He doesn't like even later in the movie he doesn't use this knowledge and do shit with it. He just goes back with a Spider-Man suit. I don't know what the thought process was there. He could have even made like an all like pretty much all black Spider-Man suit. That would have made sense. So he goes to, I think, London. Mysterio's pretending that there's like all four of the elementals are attacking at once, or like 100 times bigger than any of the other ones. And then Happy calls Nick Fury and is like, yo, I was going through some stuff and I didn't know this guy was a surfer. people aren't always who they seem or something like something. That was like code for like, you know, Mysterio's a fraud. Peter's fighting the drones and he has like electric webs, so he's taking out a bunch of them. And then Mysterio takes down the illusion and focuses all the drones on Spider-Man. Spider-Man taking down a bunch of drones, and then he eventually gets to the control room where Quentin Beck is at. And there's like this cool sequence where he actually does what I was talking about a couple minutes ago of like actually using his spider senses and not falling for the illusions. And he is like turned around and like shoots Quentin. And so, you know, he's like on the ground. And then he gives like a little speech and like you defeated me or something, and like hands Peter the Edith glasses. But like he's holding the glasses weird. Like they're a gun. And then Peter realizes this and goes like, and like, you know, Quentin like had a gun and was like standing right next to him. Like that was cool. That was, you know. And then Peter actually gets the Edith glasses, like has the ability to take down the drones. And then he says, do it, execute them all. Keep in mind that specific wording. It's a surprise tool that'll help us later. And then during all of this, then MJ, Ned, Flash, and what's her face and Happy are in like a room in like a museum, and like, you know, they're trying not to get killed by a few drones that are in there. Think they're about to die. So Happy goes, I'm dating Spider-Man's aunt. Pretty sure they like almost all of his classmates know about Happy and know that he's like dating. They're apparently, this is at the end of the movie, but like they're apparently not actually dating. I don't know. But like from an outsider's perspective, it looks like they're dating. So him saying I'm dating Spider-Man's aunt is literally him saying I'm dating Peter's aunt, which is something they know. So if they would have actually used their brains and thought for 5 seconds, they would have realized seconds and been like, wait, is Peter Parker Spider-Man? So a little bit later, takes out all the drones, you know, saving the people. They'll go back home. Peter swings MJ to somewhere. Peter's about to swing away. And then there's like a breaking news of like Daily Bugle on this thing, on this like news broadcast. Then it's like basically found footage of Mysterio, and he's like, Spider-Man attacked me on the bridge. I don't know why. He you know, he used all these drones like attacking me and stuff. And then he's like, you know, Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. That's the end of the movie. That's a cliffhanger to end all cliffhangers, bro. That's a good ass cliffhanger. If they would have ended the Spider-Man MCU after that, people would have been mad. They almost did cancel MCU Spider-Man. They were gonna try and bring him into like the Venom verse or whatever. And then like 4 months of like legal talk later, they finally decided, okay, we're gonna actually keep him in the MCU. We got Spider-Man No Way Home. Lord help us. So the opening scene takes place like right after the end of Far From Home, and it's like, you know, Peter is like public enemy number one. People are like swarming around him and MJ. Peter drops down, picks up MJ, and like swings back to his place. When he gets to his place, then like Happy and Aunt May are talking about like relationship stuff, because like that's their only thing they can talk about. Like during the swinging back to his apartment scene, then like, you know, shit's hitting the fan at like 50 miles an hour. Trying to talk to Happy and Aunt May about their relationship for some reason. TV's on the news. He's not able to talk to them about it because like MJ points at the TV and is like, yo, all 4 of them are now aware of what's going on. 5 of them at like a, you know, police station getting interrogated and shit. Ned basically just like explains everything. The rest of them don't say shit. End of the whole like legal portion of stuff is basically like that Spider-Man's fine legally, but that Stark Industries is kind of fucked over a bit. I don't remember the specifics, but it's kind of not great. Peter, like, Spider-Man's still like public enemy number one. People hate him because, you know, they trust the word of one dude that flew around in Europe for a couple of weeks over the word of Spider-Man, who's been helping people for years at this point. I don't know why they trust Quentin, even though he's given literally zero proof of trustworthiness other than like one video where he took Peter out of context. But I don't know. Daredevil shows up as Peter's lawyer. That's cool. Ned, MJ, and Peter are at a coffee shop, open up their like application letters because, you know, they want to get into college. They each get rejected from every single college that they applied to because, you know, obviously. Peter sees some like Halloween decorations that are still up, and then he gets the bright idea of, okay, I'm gonna go to Doctor Strange and have him do a spell that'll make everyone forget that I'm Spider-Man. And then when him and Doctor Strange are like, you know, doing the spell, then he keeps changing the spell. He makes the spell with a couple exceptions, and like has to contain it because like he has to modify it. This happens like 4 or 5 times. But somehow like tears like a hole through like time and space or something, and people from other universes who know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker come through. Doctor Strange gets mad at him because Peter went straight to Doctor Strange trying to get him to like make people forget about him, but didn't go to like the head of professor. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm bad with titles, names, and places. I don't know how I made it through life. I don't know. I just did. When he's like on like the highway talking to this woman, he gets attacked by Green Goblin and Doc Ock. Part of his like nanotech bullshit suit gets ripped off, and it's like the chest portion, and then like Doc Ock tries to like, you know, use like his like spike finger thing to like stab Peter, but then he uses like the head nanotech to cover the chest portion. Doc Ock's like, "You're not my Peter." A bit of nanotech goes onto Doc Ock, and so Peter's now in control of Doc Ock's like tentacle arm thing. Oh, his full name is Dr. Otto Octavius. I just don't remember that. I'm sorry. I was butchering his name with the Spider-Man 2 portion. I'm sorry. Him and Otto are on top of the bridge talking, trying to figure out what's going on. And out of nowhere, then Green Goblin shows up and starts throwing a bunch of pumpkin bombs, and then randomly, then Peter and Doc Ock are teleported out of there into the basement of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Doctor Strange basically explains like, "Yo, these people are not from here. A bunch of them came here when we botched that spell." He tells Peter to like track down these other guys and gives him like this like special like thing that like when like he hits them with it, that like will teleport them to this like up underground like bunker thing. He gets notified to like this like disturbance in the forest with like a bunch of electricity and stuff, and then we see Electro, and Peter has like a new suit, which is like, you know, a black suit, which this is convenient, okay, because remember back in Spider-Man 3 it was the black suit Spider-Man, right? It was a dog shit suit, but it was a suit nonetheless. He tries to like capture Electro, but like Electro fights him. A big old pile of sand goes between Peter and the electricity. Oh, it's Sandman. They work together to stop Electro. Sends Electro and Sandman to the bunker. In the bunker, there's Electro, Sandman, Otto, the Lizard, and then at the homeless shelter, Norman Osborn, he's all like disheveled and stuff. He tells her that like he's from a different world or something, and because of like the recency of everything that just happened, then, you know, they believe him. He goes with them. Okay, Doctor Strange has this like MacGuffin box, which like if he presses the button, it'll send all of them home. But they were just talking and realized like, okay, if we get sent home, we're gonna die. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god, dude. Okay, so Peter and Doctor Strange fight for the box, and then Peter traps Doctor Strange at this like 4th dimension. I'm gonna backtrack like 2 sentences. If he presses the button, they're gonna die. So the first time I watched this movie, I didn't take issue with this because I hadn't watched basically any of the first two Spider-Man actors movies in like several years before this. I rewatched all of the Spider-Man movies initially so that No Way Home would make sense, but I decided eventually to make this video. And when I watched the scene where they were talking about like, okay, all five of us are gonna die, I like, okay, so the five that are there are Lizard, Otto, Sandman, Green Goblin, Electro. Okay, the Lizard, if he gets sent back, okay, why is Lizard in lizard form? Because at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 1, then he got turned back into normal human forever mode. If you wanted to count the Lizard as like a separate entity, like what? No. Like he he got cured of like the lizard disease stuff, but then in like a post-credit scene at the end, like the end of TASM 1, he was like had like partial lizard going on. I don't know. I might have just been seeing things because like the scene was dark ass room, but like I feel like he had still a bit of the lizard DNA. So even if you want to go with the argument that like the alter ego Lizard being cured, it counts as the Lizard dying, he still later in the movie had bits of the Lizard on him. That, sending Lizard back wouldn't kill him because he was still alive the last time we saw him. And then the other guy is Electro, which does die. That's fair. The other guy is Otto, which yes, he does die. The other guy is Green Goblin, which yes, he does die. The other guy is Sandman. Sandman, the last time we saw him, which was at the end of Spider-Man 3, he was still alive. So, for one thing, why the fuck is Lizard here? He was cured halfway, I guess, but like, he wasn't about to die. I may be misinterpreting this, but the way the movie presented it seemed like all five of them were gonna die. But like, Sandman and Lizard were both still alive last time we saw them. I don't know what the writers were smoking, but they're just acting like they both would have died. Peter traps Doctor Strange in like this like fourth dimension or some shit. Him, MJ, and Ned decide, okay, we're gonna find cures for these guys and then send them back. Because I guess the thought process is like, if we cure them and then send them back, they're not gonna die. No clue how the fuck you came to that conclusion, but that's the conclusion he came to. I guess maybe the thought process was like, we're gonna like redeem their souls or something. That's never stated, but the way it's presented is that if they send them back, without their powers, they're not gonna die or something. They're just gonna die worse, except for like the only exception maybe being Mysterio, because it's pure electricity. But like Otto drowned, either drowned or got absorbed by like the sun machine. Green Goblin died from his glider. Electro, that's the only one that's debatable. And then Lizard and Sandman, both last we saw them were still alive. I guess maybe you could say that these were like later versions of them that like took place like after what we saw of them, but like the way the movie presents it sounds like it's the versions we're aware of. They decide we're gonna cure these guys to like save their lives or something. Stupid thought process, but that that's what the movie goes with. Peter brings all of them to his like apartment, which has like this 42nd generation like 3D printer, which can make like all this like insanely powerful technology. This machine's never mentioned or brought up again ever. Peter makes the cure for all these guys. Ed and MJ are watching over the Doctor Strange portal fingering thing. Once you know it, crazy thing happens. The 5 bad guys that he brought to his apartment turn on him. Who could have thought? Goblin goes on like a whole spiel of like these powers are not weaknesses, like they got stronger or something, and like gets mad at Peter and is all like all the power in your hands, and you could have had everything, but like you decided not to, or something to that extent. Convinces all the rest of the guys to be like, yo, fuck this guy, and gets out of there. Doc Ock just gets the fuck out of there. because like he was given back the crystal thing. Once he has control over his body again, he's not evil, so he just dips the fuck out of there. Lizard was downstairs. I guess he hears all the commotion going on upstairs, so he just books it out of there. Electro takes all the electricity out of that, and then Sandman starts attacking for some reason. I don't know, like he was a good guy at the end. Like last we saw him and throughout the entire movie, he's a good guy. Like and then he just decides to start attacking Peter for some reason. He does quickly dip though, so it's whatever. Peter and Green Goblin fight at the apartment building. We're thinking that like it's presented in a way of like, okay, she's fine, she's great, but then she says the dreaded statement of, with great power comes great responsibility, and that's when everyone in the theater collectively realized like, oh, she's about to fucking die. What the fuck? Peter's all mad, and like, and then the Daily Bugle's now blaming him, and it's like, this fucker just destroyed this building. Yo, what the fuck, guys? Peter's going on like a TikTok edit, like sad boy moment. It's valid time for the TikTok sad boy moment, but you know, the way that the shots are presented almost looks like they're trying to get like edits made. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. That's just the way it looked to me. I'm sorry. And MJ see all this stuff going on the news and like can't find Peter, and like he's not like responding to his calls or whatever. They try making a portal and are like, bring me Peter Parker, and then crazy thing happens. Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire pop out of the portals. Wow, the 6th and 7th cameos. That's crazy. I'm so happy about this. I love this movie so much. They're cool Spider-Mans. The cameos are cool, but like, let me cook here. I don't have a serious, insane issue with bringing back past villains in a movie like this. I don't have an issue with that. The way they went about it, I think, is dumb. But like the idea itself is cool. It is a cool idea. My personal thing is like, if you're gonna be bringing in Spider-Mans from like other universes, I feel like it would have been cool to bring in like a villain or two, or like and also like a Spider-Man that like wasn't made before, like a new Spider-Man, because like just bringing in characters from these two specific universes, like, yeah, that makes sense for the story, but like, it would have made more sense if there was like a little bit more. And like, I feel like if they would have introduced like a new Spider-Man that they pretend like they acted like was in like a different movie, like just brought him there, that would have been cool. Like a orange suit Spider-Man or some shit. Like, go wild, do whatever with it, because like, you know, it's a brand new character that you're like pretending has like a whole backstory. Like that would have been dope. That would have been awesome. But they didn't. So it's just Easter egg show, whatever. I don't know. That was just me cooking. I don't know. Get rid of Lizard, maybe Sandman, and then like bring in a couple of other like new bad guys that you pretend are from other universes, and then also bring in like a new Peter Parker. That would have been dope. That would have been awesome. I would have way less issues with this movie if they would have introduced like new characters that they pretended were from other universes. That would have been that figure out where MCU Peter is, and like they go give him like a pep talk, and they're like, I know times like this are tough, but like we gotta do this. So the school and are like, you know, making like serums and stuff to like cure these guys, because they didn't get all the serums. MCU Peter didn't get all the serums done. They're working and like making all the serums. Go to the Eiffel Tower. Not the fuck. Go to like the Statue of Liberty. Or like, yo, assholes. If you want, I can send you home instantly. I can send you to your deaths instantly with this big ass MacGuffin box. Hey, come here and fight me for it, bitch ass motherfuckers. Just goading them to go there. There's like a good like 10-minute fight scene that goes on. It's a cool fight scene. I have issues with the logistics of how we got here, but the fight scene itself is pretty good. The better written it is, the worse the fight scene is, with a couple of exceptions. There's like a whole fight. MCU Peter is mad at Green Goblin for killing Aunt May. Fair, yeah. Fair. Like he tries to, you know, stab Green Goblin with the Goblin Glider. Tobey Maguire Peter stops him and gives him like the stare. Pulls out like a knife and like stabs Tobey Maguire. And then Andrew Garfield chucks the serum and like they inject him. I'm backtracking a little bit. Sorry, I'm he drops a goblin bomb into the MacGuffin box, unleashes like the whole like multiverse ripping shit. Peter goes up to Doctor Strange, who's, you know, he got freed accidentally, by the way. Doctor Strange is up at the top of the Statue of Liberty. He's trying to like contain it, but like he can't. And then Peter says like, okay, if you make a spell that everyone forgets who Peter Parker is for some reason beyond me, that will work. Doctor Strange makes that spell. Everyone forgets Peter Parker, which in turn makes people forget that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. That's how logistics work. Because of this, Ned and MJ don't know who Peter is. Ned, MJ, and Peter are at this coffee shop, and like Peter orders like coffee, and like he was going to like introduce him to himself and be like, yo, I know you guys don't remember me, but we were friends for a while, right? He doesn't, to protect them, which that's good. That's good character writing. I love that. Like, if they don't know him, then they're not gonna really be in danger. He now has his own apartment. Then he gets like, then he like makes this new suit, which like doesn't have overdone lines. They heard the prayers of the comic book fans. So the overdesigned lines are gone. Praise be the costume department. I don't fucking spell at the end of No Way Home. Basically, Peter's lesson was like you can't select who knows. The reason the spell was messed up is because he kept like adding to it every 3 seconds of like properly wording it the first time. Like if him and Doctor Strange would have like talked for like a couple minutes and been like, okay, here's who I want to know about me being Spider-Man. The whole movie would have just not happened. It would have just been like the first like 20 minutes, and then he would have had the spell going, and then they would have all gotten into college after applying again or something. And they're acting like the reason that the spell failed is because what he was asking for was too much, but the reason it failed was because Doctor Strange stacked like 7 failed spells onto itself. Brand new day. The opening is Peter on like a building, like watching one of Ned's Instagram reels, jumps off and starts, you know, doing his thing. We get like a montage of him like fighting a bunch of bad guys and stuff. There's like a armored tank that's like blasting through the road and stuff while Peter's chasing it, and none other than Frank Castle, the Punisher, shows up, tries to shoot at the tank with the gun. I don't really know what the thought process was there, but bit of a tangent. But if you've watched any of like the Netflix Marvel shows, then you'll know that the way that the Punisher is shown in there is like way more like realistic and nuanced than it is in this one specific Spider-Man movie. They made him like basically like a 2D caricature of himself in this movie. Most like basic understanding of him is basically how they portray him. I get why they did it. Netflix Marvel shows are like TV-14 or something, but like this movie was like PG or PG-13. They can't really portray him exactly the same, so I don't really have anything actually against the fact that they did portray him like this. You know, Peter doesn't want Frank like shooting guns in the streets. Peter like launches Frank out of the back of his van. Peter catches up to the tank after it like crashes into a wall, like a detention center. Inside the tank is this old lady, like some like thing transfers from her into a security guard, keeps jumping from person to person, and Spider-Man's the only one who's like really seeing like that there's this thing jumping around. During this, Scorpion is being transported to like some other facility because of the whole thing that's bouncing from person to person. Pilot ends up being controlled by this thing, brings him somewhere else. Peter's on his way home one day, and then he sees Ned, and so he follows him to this party. He's bringing back a bunch of Peter's like repressed memories of like, you know, they were friends and stuff, and like he's not with them anymore because of like the whole spell at the end of No Way Home. Peter has like a PTSD episode, wakes up pretty much naked, hanging off his balcony in like a real spider web. He starts to fall, and then like he like instinctively does like the thing, shoots a web without, you know, his web shooters, and then he goes to Bruce Banner. Is asking him all about like how to like suppress this like these like mutations and stuff. Goes back to his apartment and makes like a suppression thing, stops his mutations. Before he went to meet with Bruce Banner, Scorpion started like attacking. Peter was like losing control over his powers a bit, and he like goes into like some like sort of psychotic state and is like throwing Scorpion around. throws Scorpion at a cop car and like almost kills the driver. Suppress this thing. It's, you know, not good. Doing pretty bad right now. So, you know, he's suppressing this thing. He makes like a gene suppressor. It keeps overheating. He can't really use it. Post-hopper thing, jumping from person to person, knows that Spider-Man's Peter Parker finding MJ. So Peter goes there before MJ can be found by this thing. They're talking on top of a building. MJ is all like, wait, I feel like I recognize you. And then she takes off his mask and kisses him. And then is like, you really thought you... Because it turns out that like the host jumper thing is inside of her. You kissed MJ without her permission. She's like, where have I heard that before? MJ jumps off a building and Peter catches her. There's another person down there who the host jumped to. And Peter's like, okay, you won. Just leave her alone. The person who actually has the powers and is like controlling these people is in the car and has someone drive her away. And Peter does like a deep dive on this person and finds basically nothing. The person who's like has the powers to like control people is named Jean Grey. Peter's all scared for MJ and stuff, so he takes her to the Punisher's hideout, keeping her there to be safe. Faces Jean Grey. MJ tells the Punisher to go and help Spider-Man. The Hulk is being controlled by Jean Grey. The Hulk does his Hulk stuff and is like fighting Spider-Man, but then Spider-Man like barely beats him. Jean Grey takes control of the Punisher and is like having him kill a bunch of people. Like blows up this door that has like the head of the department. Spider-Man puts the like power suppressor on Jean. He gets locked up at the facility. Since she's no longer a threat, Peter can bring MJ back to her apartment. Ned's there. Ned's like obsessed with Spider-Man, trying to figure out like who he is and stuff. He's there talking to all of them for a little bit. Peter apologized for kissing her without her permission, even though he thought that she was actually there. But he still apologizes after figuring out that it wasn't actually her. Good thing to do. That's a good, you should apologize for that. He doesn't remember anything from when Jean Grey was in control. When the guy was about to get shot, after Peter like put the power suppressor on Jean, then she said a name and it was Sarah, and the guy said Jean took control of him and like found the name Sarah. This information that MJ gave him contradicts that completely. So now he knows the department guy was lying to him. He goes there. He's stopped by a bunch of security guards, so like he fights them. And then the Hand's there and like they're working with the department people. They fight him. During the fight, then he loses both of his web shooters. Takes off like the gene suppressor. Natural Web fights them. Goes up to Jean Grey, who broke out of like the restraint stuff that the department had her in. When Jean Grey broke out of the thing, froze like an entire like 8 blocks around her. The area that is frozen is like slowly growing. I'm not entirely sure why she didn't freeze Spider-Man, since at this point in time she was still against him because, you know, he's the one responsible for getting her in there. It might have something to do with the fact that she can't actually read his mind, but I don't know. Peter makes his way up there. She goes in his brain, sees like a speech from Aunt May. He decides, okay, yeah, no, she's right. Drops like the whole freezing everyone in the several blocks around her. The Punisher's on a building. He's not aware that Jean is now not bad. He shoots to try and hit Jean. Spider-Man jumps in the way. Spider-Man gets shot, bleeding out and like in critical condition and stuff. When I was watching this in the theater, I was actually like thinking like, wait, are they gonna kill Spider-Man? That wouldn't actually be the first time they've killed Spider-Man. Like, I was actually like sitting there like, wait, are they actually gonna kill Spider-Man? In hindsight, obviously not. He is the most profitable Marvel character. When I was watching the movie, I was like wait a minute, in the hospital. And there's this whole scene where like the whole city is like watching. Peter wakes up, him and Frank are like talking. He's able to get out of the hospital. There's like this big old crowd of people out there watching, waiting for Spider-Man to like get up. As Peter's walking out the building, then someone says, "It's Spider-Man." And then outside of the window of the room he was in, then Frank is like wearing like the Spider-Man mask and like part of the suit. And like one of my main issues with the MCU Spider-Man was that like it never really took place in the city, and like it never really had anything with like the like citizens, because like in Spider-Man 2 there was like the whole train sequence and like everyone there being like, you know, you're the GOAT, man, like, you know, and like talking about how like, you know, they Spider-Man saved his life, and then in Spider-Man 1, then there was a bridge scene where like the Green Goblins was like about to kill Spider-Man, but then like a bunch of people on the bridge are like throwing stuff at Green Goblin, being like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And then in The Amazing Spider-Man 1, then there was like the whole crane sequence, which earlier I said was probably my favorite sequence in any of the Spider-Man movies. But now it's my second favorite because this like hospital, like everyone like cheering for Spider-Man being not dead, I think is actually my new favorite one. Cause like it does two things at the same time. For one thing, it you know like shows the citizens like how they like feel about Spider-Man and like, you know, the world and stuff. But then also it shows like how like the like how scared the world was to not have Spider-Man, which that's that's really cool. Like they accomplished two things simultaneously, seamlessly. I really like that they were able to do that. And I think that I feel like this is my favorite live action Spider-Man movie. Now you don't really have any of the argument of like, I don't know, Iron Boy Jr. or any of that bullshit, because like Iron Man's dead and Spider-Man no longer has access to any of like the Stark technology stuff, so that argument's gone. So, you know, now he's normal Spider-Man, which people have been wanting since he was introduced back in like 2016 or something, and we finally got him. And it's the best Spider-Man movie they made. It's so good. He's now my favorite live action Spider-Man. I feel very comfortable saying that this is my favorite Spider-Man live action movie. This might be a hot take, but I think it's better than Spider-Man 2. While Spider-Man was like leaving, then MJ said, "Good luck, Peter," or something like that. And then Ned's like, "Wait, his first name's Peter?" And then at the end of the movie, then Peter goes to a store to buy some flowers for Aunt May, and then he sees Ned sitting at a table. Peter does like the fist bump or whatever that they had memorized. And they both like, you know, Ned remembers it and Peter remembers it, so they like do the fist bump. Ned realizes like, "Wait, oh, it's Spider-Man." Apparently, this was gonna be another like multiverse bullshit movie, but like Tom Holland himself was actually like, no, that's stupid, and then made the directors actually make it like a Spider-Man movie. Even if this movie ended up being dog shit, the fact that Tom Holland was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that shit again. That alone probably would like make him be my favorite live action Spider-Man. But the fact that the movie was actually super good makes him definitely be my favorite live action Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse, a lot of people consider to be the best superhero movie like ever made. The opening of Into the Spider-Verse is Peter Parker, and he's going like, you know, explaining everything. We see Spider-Man in like a 2-minute segment of like him explaining himself. Spider-Man doesn't show up again in the movie for like 20 minutes. We see Miles Morales in his room, you know, listening to music and drawing, not really wanting to go there, and he's like not really taking it that seriously. Like there's this scene where it's like him walking to school and like talking to people and like putting up stickers and stuff. He trips on his shoelace in front of his dad's police car, and his dad earlier in the movie offered to drive him, but Miles refused, and now then his dad's driving him to school, and they see like a TV that's talking about, you know, like Spider-Man on the news and stuff. Jeff Miles' dad, he starts talking about how like he kind of dislikes Spider-Man a bit, and it's like, you know, this guy swings in for 5 minutes and then gets all the praise when like my guy's going all day every day, something to that extent. He drops Miles off at this like fancy school. He tells Miles that he loves him, and then Miles says, "I know, Dad," and then he walks a bit, and then Jefferson goes on the like police like speaker megaphone thing and is like, "You're supposed to say I love you back." Miles gets into class kind of late and makes a dumb joke, and then he sits next to Gwen, and then Miles goes to his uncle's apartment, is Aaron Davis. talking about stuff. Miles tells him about classmate. Aaron tells Miles about the method, which is, you know, you put your arm on the person's shoulder and go, hey. They both go spray painting like a mural in this, like, in the subway. Miles gets bit by a spider. You know, they leave. Miles goes to school that next day and sees a classmate. He tries the method, but like his hand sticks to her and then it gets off momentarily and goes into her hair. Very, very uncomfortable scene to watch. I'm gonna back up a little bit. When he first gets to school, then like he's walking in the hallway and one of like the security guards is all like, I know you snuck out last night. There was like a whole like chase scene. Accidentally ends up in the guy's office, mistakenly jumps out the window, and because he got bit by the spider, he has like the spider sticking stuff. He's able to like walk on the like wall and windows, and then he ends up back in dorm room. He sees like a Spider-Man comic book. It's talking about like the same thing that he's going through right now. Back to the subway where he was like painting that mural, like look at the spider and make sure that like it was just a spider. Like taps it with a pen and like it glitches out. He starts like exploring the area a little bit, and then like his like spider senses are going off, and his spider sense says get down, and then like he like crouches and like a big ass like metal rod like slams through the wall. He gets pulled into this big humongous room, and Spider-Man and Green Goblin are fighting. As Miles is trying to like run out of there, then like he accidentally runs into the collider room. Spider-Man and Green Goblin's fight. He goes into the collider room. Miles falls off the ledge that he was standing on, and Peter's spider sense goes off and he catches Miles and like lands him on some like scaffolding. When they're like sitting there for a second, then both their spider senses are going off, and the particles behind Spider-Man are red and blue, and then the particles behind Miles are purple and green, but then they shift to red and blue. Spider-Man tells him that like once he's done with this, then he's gonna show Miles like how to be Spider-Man. The Goblin to the ground, and Goblin's just on the ground for like a minute or two, and then Peter's at like the top of the collider at like the control panel, and he has a USB, it's like an override key. He tries to use it, but then Prowler like flies up to him. Green Goblin goes up there and pins Spider-Man down. Then Kingpin goes on like a whole monologue. Kingpin activates it, and Spider-Man's like pleading like, yo, this is gonna make a black hole. You know, Kingpin activates the machine. A ceiling tile falls onto Green Goblin's head, incapacitated for a minute. Spider-Man tries to fly up to, you know, disable the machine with the USB again, but then Green Goblin flies up there, catches him midair, and like the machine's activated now, so it's like, you know, making like a big old beam of energy and shit. Green Goblin shoves Spider-Man into the beam. You know, when Spider-Man's being shoved into the beam, then like he stares into the void and sees the multiverse. Green Goblin's dead, and Spider-Man is now like incapacitated. Miles goes to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man hands him the USB and tells him like to swing up there and deactivate the machine. Makes Miles promise to him that he's going to do that. Kingpin and all his lackeys go up and find Spider-Man, tells Kingpin that his plan's not going to work, and then Kingpin throws a fit and like, you know, like full slams Spider-Man. Miles sees all this happen, and he like accidentally like kicks some rubble or something, which makes a noise, and they're alerted to him. And then the Prowler is chasing Miles, and Miles like barely escapes the subway. He makes his way back to his apartment. Fire City is now aware that, you know, Spider-Man's dead. There's like his funeral service. Miles tries to like jump from one building roof to another building roof. He gets like a running start, but he trips on his shoelace and falls down. And when he lands, then like he accidentally breaks the goober, which is the USB. He goes to Peter Parker's grave and is like, I failed. Peter Parker from a different universe walks up behind him. Venom strike electrocutes this other Spider-Man. Miles is like swinging across the city, not with web shooters on his wrists, but with the other Peter's web shooters. Miles goes back to his uncle's place and ties Peter up to the punching bag. Peter and Miles basically explain to each other what's going on. Escapes. Miles continues to try and explain what's going on, but Peter isn't really like he cares, but like he doesn't. He's tired, you know. He really just doesn't want to help this kid out. He learns that the goober is broken. He has to go to Alchemax, make a new goober. I just want to backtrack a little bit. Scene where Miles is trying to jump from building to building. Then like he starts off on like a pretty tall building and goes to a shorter building. Played off in a way that's comedic, but like doesn't take away from the scene. That's something that a lot of other Spider-Man movies like struggle with. The example I'm going to give here is the Amazing Spider-Man 2's opening. Not opening, but second scene, where it's Peter like swinging around and like there's that like armored truck and like he's quipping and stuff, which is, you know, a character trait of Spider-Man, but he's too focused on being funny that he doesn't stop the armored truck, and like the armored truck hits a bunch of cars and stuff, would potentially like, you know, mutilate or kill them, all because he wanted to make a few jokes. I think is not very good characterization. This movie does humor in serious situations well. You know, they go to Alchemax and to try to make a new goober. Peter gets found by Doc Ock, which is a woman this time. They can't make the goober there, so they just steal the entire computer. On their way out of there, getting chased by Doc Ock and a bunch of security guards, Gwen shows up. Them work together. They go to May's house. They meet Spider-Ham, Spider-Noir, Penny Parker. Spider-Noir's a really cool character. They should make like an entire like Spider-Noir movie or even like TV show. Make a new goober. They're discussing about like shutting down machine. And if you are in the wrong universe for too long, then you're gonna glitch out and die. So if any of them stay there to shut off the machine, then they're gonna die. So Miles says that he has to shut down the machine. We're all like testing him because like he's barely a Spider-Man yet, because you know he hasn't learned anything. He can't do basically any of the stuff because he hasn't learned how to do any of the stuff. They huddle around and start being all like, yo, this guy's not ready. He runs off and goes to his uncle's place. None other than the Prowler himself shows up. And it turns out that the Prowler is Uncle Aaron. The Prowler is chasing Miles. Miles gets away, and the Prowler's like on top of a roof, watching him menacingly. And then we're back at Aunt May's house, and then Miles barges in and is like, Prowler is my uncle. It turns out that he was followed, and so there's this whole like, you know, fight scene. Also, they made a new goober. There's this whole fight scene where the bad guys are trying to get the goober. They completely destroy Aunt May's house. Aunt May just catching strays because they were all hanging out there. The Prowler has Miles like hanging halfway off the roof. Miles takes off his mask. Aaron like hesitates. Kingpin goes on his comms and is like, yo, kill that guy. Aaron doesn't, so Kingpin shoots him. So he's dying, and then Miles swings him down to like a little area. Aaron, he says, just keep going. Miles' dad sees Miles in the Spider-Man outfit like hunched over Uncle Aaron, so he thinks that, you know, he killed Aaron. He goes over there to try and arrest him, but he turns invisible, and then he sees Aaron's like laying there dead. So then he goes on the police comms and is like, I have a new, I think he said ICU. I'm not at all versed in police lingo, so I don't know what that term means or if I got the name of the term correct. But it, from my understanding, is basically, let's start a manhunt for Spider-Man's basically my understanding of what he just said. Miles swings back to his dorm. He like starts destroying a bunch of stuff and throws a book out the window, and then the book comes flying back, and then all the spider peoples come into his dorm and are like giving him a pep talk. Peter webs him up to a chair, and then Miles says, when will I know that I'm ready? And then Peter says, you won't. It's a leap of faith. And then they leave. Then Miles' dad goes up to his dorm room door, gives like a speech that motivates Miles to get out of there and try. Miles goes to Spider Shack which is like an entire spider cave, and he makes a suit. And there's this awesome scene, like the leap of faith scene is probably one of the best scenes in any movie I've ever watched. He goes to Alchemax, and the rest of the spider people are now at Alchemax, and they think it's going to be really difficult to get in there, but the Kingpin is having some like banquet, and all the waiters are like dressed as Spider-Man, so they get in there pretty easily. They go into the collider room to try and shut down the collider, but they get juked and jumped, faltering quite a bit. But then Miles shows up, and the tide swings the other way, and they start winning. And there's a bunch of guys that, like, a bunch of goons there who inadvertently get killed by the collider. This whole, like, collider fight sequence is so fucking peak. I haven't even mentioned the soundtrack. The soundtrack for both the animated movies are so fucking peak. Oh my god. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. And all the spider people get sent to their respective universes, except for Peter, because Kingpin goes out there and starts like aura farming. Peter starts to jump over to go fight Kingpin, but then Miles is like, "Nuh-uh, you gotta go home, man." Peter says, "How will I know I'm ready?" And then Miles says, "It's just a leap of faith," which is the same thing that Peter said to him. And so Peter goes back, and then Miles fights Kingpin, and
oh my word, bro. That scared the shit out of me. Can you like say something? Like if you hear me walking in, can you like say that you're in here or something?
sure. Miles is fighting Kingpin. They end up on like the top of a bridge. Miles is like struggling, and then Kingpin does like the angry fist thing and slams Miles to the ground. And then in the control room, which is like pretty close, then Miles' dad is like, "Get up, Spider-Man," and that gives Miles the motivation to, slowly get back up. But Kingpin slammed Miles with the intention of killing him, but he saw Miles slowly stand back up. Like I think he spent like a solid 15 seconds trying to stand back up. During that time, Kingpin was just standing there watching. But the first time he slammed Miles, he did it with the intention of killing him. So when he saw Miles slowly stand back up, I don't really know why he didn't slam him again, but he didn't. And because of that, then Miles puts his hand on Kingpin's shoulder and is like, "Hey," and then zaps him. And then, while he's flying, then he like webs him and starts swinging him around and is like, "Press the green button for me," and then chucks him at the control panel. The entire collider shuts off, and like there's this big ass explosion. Miles calls his dad, and then his dad starts trying to tell him about Uncle Aaron. Miles is all like, "I know." He hangs up, and then Miles Spider-Man, goes up to Officer Jeff and is like, "We would make a great team. We should work together," or something like that. Jeff is like, "I don't approve of your methods, but good work out there," or something. Spider-Man's like, "It's honest work," and then he also says, "Look behind you," and then behind him there's two buildings, a shit ton of webbing. Kingpin is in the middle, just strung up there, and then there's like a really cool monologue at the end by Miles, and it's really good. It's really good. And then that's the movie. There's a post-credit scene where Spider-Man 2099 goes to like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon universe, and it's like, it's the pointy finger Spider-Man meme. There was this whole debate online about like whether or not Miles Morales is Spider-Man. And my understanding of it was always that he is Spider-Man, but like he shouldn't be called Spider-Man. He should have some like adjective at like the beginning of his name or like the end of his name, like Gwen Stacy's Spider-Man, but she's Spider-Gwen. Spider-Man from 2099 is Spider-Man, but he's Spider-Man 2099. And like there's all these other like variants of Spider-Man, but they have like an adjective or like some sort of like specifier that like they're, you know, a different version of Spider-Man. My understanding was always that Miles fit into that category, but apparently the majority of debate of whether or not Miles Morales is Spider-Man is because he's black, and you know, racist assholes online are just like, he doesn't deserve to be Spider-Man, he's just a token character, some stupid shit like that, which in that sense he's absolutely Spider-Man, and people who say otherwise, a good amount of them are racist, just objectively are racist, but a good amount of them aren't, and like they're like the crowd that I was in, and are just like think that he has like some sort of adjective before his name, like before or after the Spider-Man. From everything I've heard online recently, doesn't seem to be the case. He just goes by Spider-Man. So in the rest of this video, if I refer to him as Spider-Man Miles, I'm not saying that because I'm racist or because like I don't think he deserves to be Spider-Man. But you know, this is spoilers for the rest of the movie. There's like 50 Spider-Mans in this movie, so you kind of have to specify who's who a little bit more so than you would normally. So for that specifically, I will be saying like Spider-Man Miles, or like, you know, something to that effect. Across the Spider-Verse. Put on the drunk uncle top because this is a special occasion. I've been looking forward to talking about this movie for the entire time that I've been making this. When talking about like everything that happened in Into the Spider-Verse, and then also talking about like her origin, relationship with like the cops and stuff. Police think that she killed Peter Parker. Police officer's daughter, who is her, was like super close with. Thinking that she killed someone is already bad, but then the person that they think was killed by her being close makes it even worse. Gwen and her dad, who is the captain, are talking. He's basically saying to her he thinks they're gonna catch Spider-Woman pretty soon. She's basically saying that like it won't bring Peter back. He leaves, and she has like the police scanner, hears about like some disturbance at the like a art museum. She gets there, person flying around is like it's like a Renaissance vulture. He's destroying the place. He like has her and is like about to kill her. Portal opens and out jumps Spider-Man 2099. Him and Gwen, you know, argue about like the whole collider thing. Need backup, so Jessica Drew goes there. Yeah, so the three of them mostly get things done. Vulture flies to the top of the building. He throws like a bomb at the helicopter, like the police helicopter. The helicopter falls into the museum. Save the people inside the helicopter and stop the helicopter itself by using like a bunch of web. And Gwen uses like a shit ton of webbing after they stop the helicopter. Then she's like out of. Officer Stacy sneaks up on her. She's not able to get away, so she has to like, you know, take off her mask and reveal like, I'm Spider-Woman. She tries to get him to like put the gun down. He starts reading her rights, and then Miguel throws like a laser prison thing. She's with them now. I have watched this movie several times, have picked up on a lot more like nuanced details on the movie because of how much I've watched it and care about this movie. If I had this amount of care and rewatching of like a lot of the live action ones, I probably would like rate them higher and like have better arguments on them, but I haven't. Then we get to Miles, and he's talking about how like basically since the end of Into the Spider-Verse, then like he's, you know, he's been doing all the Spider-Man stuff. Miles like swinging around, you know, doing his thing. We see inside of a local store this guy walking in, asking the shop owner, do you have an ATM? You know, the guy has powers, and the powers are that he can like make portals. What he's trying to do is open a portal at the outside of the ATM, and also open a portal at the inside of the ATM where like the money is. Like he's bad at using his powers. Shop owner is like really confused, trying to like rob her out of the store because of the portal powers. He was robbing him, isn't really purposely using his tools well, but like in this instance, he is actually using them decently well. Spider-Man goes in there, starts taking down the guy. The portal guy's name's Spot. Spot's like introducing himself with like, you know, I'm your nemesis. He isn't really taking him seriously. And also during this whole thing, then Miles's parents are in like the office of the dean. They're talking about like Miles with like college, or he's running late. Spot's using his portals to, you know, try and defeat Spider-Man. He's bad at using his portals, and he's portals them into like a bunch of inconvenient spaces. They end up roof of a building. The portals in Spot, he can make them, but he also has a bunch of them like on him, and Spider-Man's trying to like punch Spot. This will go in like inside of his like face or something, and then like come out at like his chest or something. So that's why dealing with Spot is annoying. So Spot gets tied up with a bunch of webs. Miles goes to the dean's office and gets to his meeting with a few minutes late. The dean's all like, I need your story on this piece of paper. This is an important detail for later. I might not elaborate on it, but it is an important detail for later. Miles says having a story at all seems gross. While Miles is in there, then like he can see Spot tied up on the roof, and he sees the Spot is getting out of there. He rushes out of there a bit early. Jeff has to leave, and he also has to deal with Spot. It's just Rio in there, and then the dean tells Rio that Miles is lying to her. And so Spider-Man and Officer Morales are both, you know, trying to stop Spot. They end up at Alchemax. That's going further on his whole monologue, and is like, you created me, I created you. Because the spider that bit Miles was from a different dimension, and when Miles blew up Collider, Spot was one of the professors there. He was trying to like save parts of the Collider like before it blew up. He got like blasted full force with like the radiation. He became all like deformed with like the Spot abilities. For some reason, then his colleagues like laughed about it, but they didn't want to study him for some reason. Spot's all mad at Spider-Man, and then he's charging up like this big old attack, but then like he kicks his butt and then he falls into the portal. Officer Morales is mad because they didn't catch the bad guy. Then Spider-Man is giving Officer Morales a pep talk. It's basically to the effect of, really know your son, but like sounds like you gotta let him spread his wings, because, you know, Spider-Man is giving advice to his dad because his dad doesn't know that he's Spider-Man. So he's trying to like kind of Trojan horse, not really Trojan horse, but like you can see where I'm going with that. He's kind of trying to like Trojan horse his dad into, you know, letting him like go to this university. Miles swinging around getting the cake for his dad's promotion party, getting promoted to chief. This is a very incredibly important detail for later. Miles is running late and he was making the cakes, so he had to get 2 cakes to the party. Parents are mad at him because, you know, he's late. Once they open the cakes, they're all like fucked up and stuff. They're really mad at him, so like they're like starting to yell. Like honestly, Miles isn't really helping. He's kind of rage baiting them a bit unintentionally. They start yelling and Miles leaves room in his apartment. Then Gwen like opens a portal and enters. Him and Gwen talk for a little bit, start swinging around. Miles is like showing her stuff that he learned. Gwen's talking about like the whole like Spider Society thing and like Hobie, which the way that the movie presents Hobie at first is that Hobie is like this asshole, and that Spider-Man 2099 is like this super cool dude. But if you actually watch further in the movie, they're complete opposites. While they're swinging around, then Gwen hides from Miles, drops like a surveillance spider thing, watching this building. They go to Miles's dad's party and are talking. Rio and Jeff go over there and start trying to talk to them. Gwen gets out of there pretty quickly. Miles and Rio talk a couple minutes. Really good scene. Rio tells Miles to go. He does. Miles follows Gwen to this lab. They get there pretty late. Gwen uses her like spider surveillance drone thing to like do like a replay of what happened. Turns out that Spot made like a miniature collider in this office and like stuck his hand in it, became like way more powerful, and there was like an explosion, like he got transported off world. Jessica Drew calls Gwen And it's like, did you catch the bad guy? Spot can make his own interdimensional portals, which is really bad. Jess is like, okay, you have like an hour to fix this. Nowhere near enough time. Gwen promises that she's never gonna go see Miles again. Miles is there invisible, hearing all this. Gwen jumps through the portal. Miles is standing there contemplating. He also jumps through the portal. Gwen went to Earth 5101. They're swinging around spots. He's using his body's momentum and like opening a portal and like launching himself with very smart use of powers. Gwen has Spot tied up to a wall and is like going in for like a punch. For some dumb reason, while Gwen is like focused on like punching Spot, Miles is like, hey Gwen, I'm here to help. Catches her off guard. He misses the punch. Spot knocks her to the ground. Falling. Miles was like trying to catch her, but like can't. Right before either of them hit the ground, Spider-Man India pops up and saves both of them. He's all like, the bond between you two is romantic. Three of them are swinging around trying to stop Spot. Spot gets to Alchemax, despite their best efforts. He gets into the control room and like he puts up like a shield between him and Spider People. Spider-Man Miles is trying to like uses like electricity blast to stop the force field. He can't really do that. Hobie Brown runs in playing his guitar, just blasts the force field open. He says to Miles, don't use your fingers, use your palms. Four of them are trying to stop Spot. None of them are really taking Spot seriously still for some reason. Way back when Miles was like first chasing Spot, trying to stop him, then he said, you're barely a villain of the week. Pissed him off. Four of them are trying to stop Spot. They can't. He activates the collider. He's floating towards it. He reaches it. Big ass explosion. Spot gives Miles vision, and it's like, me and you are gonna be meeting each other real soon. This big ass explosion. They're trying to get out of there. Alchemex's entire building is falling. The single greatest animated sequence in any movie I've seen in my entire life. The four of them stopping Alchemax from killing a bunch of people. They're swinging around doing all their shit, moving people out of the way to like safety and stuff. It is the single best sequence in the entire movie. The police captain is about to get hit by a bunch of rocks, but then Miles like jumps in there and like saves him. You know, all the people there are happy, cheering for the Spider People. Black hole, not like space black hole, but like literal hole that is black. There's buildings like going down inside it. Sky, then Spider spaceship comes down, a bunch of Spider People drop down, and then Jessica Drew says that she wants to see all of them there. Gwen, Miles, and Spider-Punk go to Earth 928 Spider Society. Miles is getting a tour of the Spider Society, and one of the things that they show him is like the go-home machine, which they use to bring anomalies back to their home dimension. A lot of these guys are like walking around without their masks on, but also they have like this portion where like a bunch of anomalies, bad guys who like went to the wrong dimension, instead of bringing them right back, like left them in like cages at the Spider Society for some reason. A lot of these Spider People are walking around without their masks on, which fair enough, I guess, but then they leave their masks off when they're walking around near the bad guys. Okay, there's an issue, right? Because all these bad guys are there and they see the Spider People without their masks on. When they get brought back to their home dimension, aren't a good amount of them gonna know the secret identity of their Spider Person? Even if they don't see the Spider Person from their home dimension, they're gonna have a much smaller suspect group of who it is. Gwen, Miles, Hobie, and Jessica Drew go to Spider-Man 2099's like lab area. Peter shows up with Mayday, who is his daughter. I'm not gonna get into this. There's a Steve Talks video that was over this. All the points like way better than I could. Why the fuck did Peter bring her there? Spider-Man 2099, Miguel is talking to Miles and it's all like, you shouldn't have saved the captain. Like Miles says, but I saved all those people. And then Spider-Man 2099 Miguel goes, that's the problem. There's these things called canon events, and if you don't abide by these, your universe will fall apart. And if your universe falls apart, there's a good chance it'll affect a bunch of other universes, because like all these dimensions are like connected. And one of the canon events is that the police captain will die trying to save a child, which is the one that Miles prevented in Mumbai. Miles puts two and two together, realizes that his dad is about to become captain, and if his dad is about to become captain, his dad's gonna die in a canon event. It'll happen in like 2 days when he gets sworn in. So Miles is not okay with this at all. and he's like, you guys are just okay letting people die because some algorithm said so. He's calling it out for the bullshit that it is. At one point, then he says, like, okay, just run it back. We're referring to back in Into the Spider-Verse when, like, they, like, you know, tied into a chair. And Hobie goes, there we go. Jessica True goes, you're not helping. And then Hobie goes, good. I've never seen a character characterized so fast in a movie ever. They characterize both of those characters perfectly in like 5 seconds. And Miles is like not okay with any of this. Like why why are you guys okay with this? You're letting people die. That's not okay. Miguel mad about this. He's trying to de-escalate it, but like, you know, you can't de-escalate that. Like, what the fuck? You're telling this kid to like let his dad die. That's not okay. Miles is not backing down. Miguel throws like the laser force field thing under Miles. Hobie went up to him and it was like whispering like, getting Miles information he needs to get the fuck out of there. He zaps the laser thing open. When he zaps it, then everyone in the room around him out for like a solid 15 seconds, but he isn't. He starts booking it. There's like this whole sequence where like Miles is like escaping like several hundred spider people, top of like a bullet train headed. Miguel is being like all like, you aren't supposed to be here. You aren't supposed to be Spider-Man. The spider that bit you was supposed to bite someone else from a different dimension, and there's now a dimension that doesn't have Spider-Man, which like it wasn't Miles' fault that the spider bit him or that the spider was there. It just bit him. It's not really your fault that you get bit by the spider. He was there and like replaced him. Miguel's being complete and utter asshole. You know, he's trying to convince this kid to, you know, let his dad die, which that on the face of it, dog shit behavior. But then he's also chasing this kid around and being all like, you know, you're not supposed to be here. You're a mistake. Ben and Peter are there, and then Peter's like, this isn't what we talked about. Miles catches this and is like, you talked about this? Miguel says, you don't even have a plan. And then Miles says, well, I did just lure hundreds of spider people away from your little clubhouse. In my notes, I didn't even write anything for this. I just wrote aura. Like, because that's what this scene is. He puts his hands on Miguel's shoulders and like blasts him forward and then dives down and then goes to the go home machine and is activating it. Miguel is there trying to like tear open like the go home machine. This button this person is able to press that completely cancels the collider sequence, and then Miles looks directly at her with like a worried face. He decides not to cancel it, and then Miles gets teleported out of there by the go home machine. Our sequence from canon events to the entire rest of the movie is just peak. The peak of the peak is in the third act, is what I'm saying. Miles is teleported out of there. Then Miguel is mad at Gwen because she let him get away. Logic I think he's working with is that Miles is only involved because she like talked to him in his universe. The reason that Miles is there is because Miguel specifically requested for Miles to be there. During like the whole like Spider-Man India like Mbatten stuff, Gwen was saying like, you know, Miles is like done here, like we're bringing him back. But like Miguel specifically said, like, I want Miles to be at Spider Society. The reason, as we're shown, is like, you know, he wants to explain all the like canon event stuff, but like that doesn't go as planned, and so Miles books it out of there and actually like leaves the dimension. But you know, he's blaming Gwen for all this, but like he's the one that wanted him there. He's the one that chose to explain this all to him right before an important time where like it's actually very bad for him to have this knowledge. Like if Miguel would have sent him off world back to his like own dimension and then waited a couple days for like the Jeff to die at like the being sworn in and then bring him to the Spider Society to be like, okay, so this is all canon events that was supposed to happen, that would have made more sense. Like, I'm not saying that would have been better for the story. I'm just saying, like, logic wise, you just didn't play this well. Miguel sends Gwen home. Gwen doesn't want to be there because, you know, her dad thinks that she killed Peter Parker. There's this really beautiful scene between her and Officer Stacy, and then it turns out that Hobie stopped by and like gave him like a dimension watch. He uses that to go to Miles's home dimension. So if you're in the wrong dimension, then you start glitching, right? If you have like the watch, then it protects you from that. And when Miles was in the Spider Society, he wasn't given a watch. He was given like a wristband. And so during the chase, then Miguel accidentally like ripped off the wristband. Miles no longer has like the interdimensional protection. We see a scene where like Miles is like swinging back to his apartment, and then he gets there. And we also have a scene where Gwen is like there, and she's just looking in, seeing like watching everything that's happening. Miles and Rio are talking. Explains that he's Spider-Man. She's all confused, and when he says that he's Spider-Man, then like nothing at all is stated for like a solid 13 seconds. It's like, confuses everyone. He's still trying to explain like who Spider-Man is. Gwen's like slowly like going into the room. Miles is continuing to try and explain everything to Rio, but then like he starts walking and like glitches. He's in the wrong dimension. Cause the spider that bit him was from a different dimension. And when he got bit by the spider, it altered his DNA, right? He is now transported to Earth 42. Here's like Rio and Jeff worried about Miles. Like they think that Gwen's responsible for this stuff or whatever. And she explains everything that's going on without explaining any like the Spider-Man stuff. She promises to them that she's gonna find Miles. Miles is in the wrong dimension. That's really bad. A door opens, and who walks in other than Uncle Aaron? They start going and like walking up a flight of stairs, talking about like some like, security clocks out like 6 or something. Miles looks around and sees like a bunch of like buildings that like have fires on top of them. I'm like, everything's just weird because, he's in the wrong dimension. That's typical. We see a billboard that says rest in power, and then it's a picture of Jeff Morales. And then in Miles's universe, his actual universe, then there's that mural with like rest in power, but like it's Uncle Aaron. Miles is like confused as fuck, and then he gets like punched, like knocked out. He's now in Uncle Aaron's apartment, tied up to the punching bag. Uncle Aaron's basically in there just aura farming, just kind of like being intimidating and shit, and working on like the Prowler gloves. Miles says, "You don't have to be the Prowler," and then Aaron says, "I'm not." Everyone's brain is working at like overtime right now, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. Like how the fuck do you come back from all of this shit? That Miles looks up and sees like a shadowy figure there, and then we see like some glowing purple eyes. And the guy drops down. Guy says, "You said your dad's still alive," and then the mask portion of it like folds off, and it's Miles Morales from Earth 42. Holy fucking shit. Holy shit, man. Like I've seen this movie like probably like almost a dozen times. And every single time that I watch this scene, I literally get goosebumps all up and down my arms and legs. Like it is such a good fucking reveal. Like, oh my god. I mean, I'm gonna just explain the desperation of Miles' situation, right? His dad is gonna die in 2 days if he doesn't intervene. He's in the wrong dimension. If he's in this wrong dimension for too long, he could just glitch and die. Miguel and the entire Spider Society is trying to hunt this fucker down. The Spot is trying to like ruin Miles' life. We got like 4 layers of like issues Miles is trying to figure out. Gwen going to like Peter B's house as like, asking for help. Her, Spider Noir, Toby, Spider-Man India, Penny Parker, Spider-Ham are there. They're standing on the roof, and then they swing into a portal, and that's the end of the fucking movie. When I was talking about No Way Home, then I was kind of shitting on them using like the multiverse cameos and stuff. But when I was talking about like the Spider-Verse movies, then I was kind of praising it. So there is a reason for that beyond just I like the Spider-Verse movie. With the Spider-Verse movies, for one thing, they are called Spider-Verse, The plan from the beginning with them was to be like multiverse spider people stuff. Like that was like one of the main things. Like without the multiverse, the story doesn't really function, right? Like all of the Miles stuff is awesome. It's great. But, like, it wouldn't have happened if there was no multiverse that the spider came from. The story couldn't have happened because there would have only been him, and he would not have been able to stop the collider himself. You take out the multiverse from Into the Spider-Verse, pretty much nothing there. There was no actual reason beyond just cameos and eye candy to have the characters that came through be the ones from the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. Like, it could have been any bad guys or spider people, and logistics wise it would have served the exact same purpose. Purpose of bringing the multiverse in was to have, like, Aunt May die and, like, Peter learn his lesson. But you could have had that happen with anyone, with any character, like any villain could have done that. You didn't need it to be specifically Tobey Maguire Green Goblin for Spider-Man 2002. That was not strictly necessary. I'm not necessarily against the fact that they brought these characters back. I'm just saying that you need to handle it with more grace. And they didn't. They really didn't. The reason that they brought the characters back is for eye candy, cameos, and to sell movie tickets. The reason that they brought the multiverse into the Spider-Verse is because otherwise the story doesn't function. And they didn't want to just tell a Spider-Man story. They wanted to tell, like, a story about stories. With Into the Spider-Verse, Miles was like living his Spider-Man origin, but there was also, like, other spider people that had already lived theirs, and they were, like, guiding him through it. And then Across the Spider-Verse was talking about, like, fate and, like, purpose and stuff. And it wasn't just like a by the books Spider-Man movie of, like, you know, bit of like personal life issues, and then you defeat the bad guy and cup of joe afterwards. It's do people deserve to die if we have the ability to stop them? Like, that's what the story, like, delves into, and it uses the multiverse to inform us there is all of this stuff that can and can't happen, and it's up to us to, like, decide if we're gonna follow it. And Miles decides, no, I'm not gonna follow this. This is stupid. You're letting people die because of pattern recognition. That's fucked up. That's stupid. Like, without the multiverse, the story doesn't function. It straight up doesn't. But, like, with No Way Home, you could have had it be literally any bad guy that, like, learns that Peter Parker's Spider-Man and hates him for it, and then kills Aunt May. You could have had literally anyone be that. You didn't need to bring Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and their villains into it. The worst of the Spider-Man movies is absolutely Spider-Man 3. And then the next worst one, I don't know. I'm kind of flip-flopping between, like, Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Far From Home, right? Because, like, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 does a lot of things really well, but it also fumbles in a lot of aspects. And you could say the same thing about Far From Home quite easily. Where I rank these two in relativity to each other kind of just depends on how I feel that day. The next one's probably Amazing Spider-Man 1. And then after that is Spider-Man 1. It's a good... And then the next one's No Way Home, which I talked at length about, like, my issues with it. But despite all those issues, I still do like it quite a bit. Next one is Homecoming. I really like Homecoming. I was saying a couple minutes ago, for you guys a couple minutes ago, for me a couple days ago, that Brand New Day I believe to be the best live action Spider-Man. After a little bit of self-reflection, I realized that is quite likely recency bias. I do still like Brand New Day more than Spider-Man 2. However, I will come back to this in like a month or two. It might stay the same, it might not. Into the Spider-Verse, I really like it. Like I don't know what else to really say, but it's a good movie. And then the best Spider-Man movie, the single best one, is Across the Spider-Verse. Like, it's just good. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. It's just a really good movie.